Hey. The judge upholds his ruling. Number 6 has to go. Brother man out. White man in. Brother man out. White man in. Let's go.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, a judge in the Son Diddy Combs trial has officially dismissed a juror. Prosecutors had requested the juror be removed due to, quote, lack of candor. The defense argued they just wanted to dismiss a black juror. Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky is outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. So, Aaron, what was the issue with this juror?
His candor, according to the judge, Diane. The judge said he gave conflicting answers when asked a pretty basic question. Where do you live? And during jury selection, he said he lived in the Bronx. He then mentioned somewhat casually to a court staff member that he had moved to New Jersey. And then when questioned about it, he gave conflicting answers about whether he was actually living in the Bronx or whether he was living in New Jersey. And the judge said that raised broader questions about his candor and whether he made a deliberate attempt to try and get himself seated onto the jury for this particular trial. And he said that could not stand.
Aaron, the defense has made arguments that this is racially motivated. How does this affect the makeup of the jury now?
It does make it, I guess, a bit whiter. The replacement alternate is a 57-year-old architect from Westchester County. But the judge noted that race isn't a concern because it is a diverse jury, even with the dismissal of this 41-year-old black man from either the Bronx or New Jersey. And the judge also said it would be inappropriate for him to consider race when making the decision as to whether this juror's candor made it appropriate for him to stick around.
The prosecutors are expected to wrap this weekend, this week, I should say. So what are you watching for as they call their final witnesses?
Well, the one on the stand right now is just a summary witness. It's a paralegal from the U.S. Attorney's Office trying to help the jury organize some of the 500-plus exhibits they've seen over the last several weeks. We expect a couple of those. There's one additional substantive witness, though, and that's a former assistant to Sean Combs, someone else who might be able to tell the jury about drugs, about setting up hotels, about how he treated people in his orbit as prosecutors seek to prove that he was running a criminal enterprise.
He out of here.
Then, of course,
Brandon
the defense will start calling their own
testifying
witnesses.
today.
Any indication whether Diddy will testify in his own defense?
Not yet. The defense had told the judge last week that they would make representations about the contours of its case this week. Now, we haven't heard anything from the defense yet. We do know we expect the defense to call at least one witness, a psychological expert, to counteract the psychological testimony of a prosecution expert about how alleged victims of sex trauma process what's happened to them. But we don't know what else the defense may have in store, including whether Sean Combs himself will testify in his own defense.
All right, Aaron Katersky outside the courthouse for us. Thanks, Aaron. And for more, be sure to follow our special show covering the trial Burden of Proof. That's on Disney Plus and Hulu weekdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
Let's go. Hold on.
What's going on in these tapes? Yeah, I think to me that was kind of the most surprising thing, not only because she had recorded this conversation, but also because I'm like, wow, we've only seen her in photographs. Now we're hearing her actual voice. But Jesse, I do want to take a step back as far as why we were hearing that particular audio recording.
We're talking about what's going on in court today, right now, because there's another witness that may be in jeopardy of being removed. Let's check it out. Hold on. Y'all come in, please hit the like button. 5 of y'all are in the bushes and didn't hit the like button. So go ahead and exit please. I would greatly appreciate it.
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you are Sean Diddy Combs, you are going to find out whether your little plot for juror number 6 is going to work. Judge SUBCRIBE made a tentative ruling on Friday about whether he should keep juror number 6 or not. Now, Xavier Donaldson, who is earning his money with Diddy, literally made an impassioned plea on why we need diversity, even though this is one of the most diverse juries anybody's ever seen in the Southern District of New York, and to why that juror must stay on. But many people, including myself, were wondering, why is Diddy so obsessed with juror number 6? And baby, don't tell me it's because he's doing it for the community. Because the only thing he did for the community was put some baby oil, Astroglide, and maybe even some Molly Wop and Molly in somebody's drink. But you guys, we did a little digging, and I think we got into what Diddy's obsession is with juror number 6 and why. Y'all, let's get into this because, baby, when I say this goes deep, it goes deep. Let's go. All right, y'all, let's get into Diddy's obsessed with this one juror, and now we know why. Y'all, so why is Diddy out here fighting for this one juror like he spotted the last lifeboat on the Titanic that's his legal future? Maybe I did a deep dive about what's going on behind the scenes and why this man might be the key to getting Diddy off, or at least Diddy thinks he is. Y'all, Diddy's team just filed a 14-page freakout trying to stop the judge from dismissing one black juror. And when I say freakout, I mean they're calling it unconstitutional, racially biased, courtroom injustice, everything but divine intervention. But y'all, we gotta be real. This is not about justice. This is just simply Diddy's desperation, baby, disguised as caring for the community. So who's this mystery juror? We don't know his name, but we know he's one of only 2 black men on the jury, okay? Now, keep in mind, there is a third alternate who appears to be black as well. We also know Diddy's lawyers are treating him like Beyonce tickets, irreplaceable, untouchable, and deeply symbolic. They even said removing him would deny Diddy a jury of his peers. Diddy turned on everybody black the second the Fed showed up. So what is he doing behind this? And why does he think this guy would be so much on his side? Now, baby, one of the wildest things is this juror was allegedly part of what people are now jokingly called the Holy Trinity, or the Bermuda Triangle of this case. A cluster of jurors that defense attorneys have been watching closely. Rumors started flying that he might be the one holding it together for Diddy, or at least stirring up enough chaos to hang the jury. Now again, nobody knows for sure, but Diddy is literally doing everything he can on a hope, a whim, a dream, and a prayer. Okay? This is why Brian Steele is fighting like hell. Now, here's where things get spicy. Brian Steele, yes, the same defense attorney from the YSL Rico case, as part of Diddy's legal team squad. Now, let me remind you, Brian Steele's team is notorious for jury profiling. They literally have someone nicknamed the YSL Granny who sits in court, studies every juror's face, and builds psychological profiles. You think they're fighting this hard over a random man, baby? They read that jury like a BuzzFeed horoscope and already clocked the T, or at least they think they did, over who might be their secret weapon. Now, also really quick, guys, I did a thing. Yeah! There is merch you can click. There's your Anna Diddy Did It sweatshirts, t-shirts, and TikToks. Y'all been asking for merch for a while. We have merch. Come on, pick us up. Support your girl. And for you smoothie coffee lovers, we also have stuff. Okay, fine, I'll get back to it. But I'm just saying, your girl has a lot of new merch. If you don't like this, we have a lot, t-shirts and everything with really funny sayings. Just go support. Don't think that they're going to be throwing this type of fit over someone who sees Diddy for who he really is. They're fighting to protect the one juror that they hope, they believe, and they pray it doesn't. Now, here's the funny thing, okay? Diddy's team is also playing the race card like it's a Uno reverse. They're dragging up the government's preemptory strikes, screaming civil rights, and acting like this trial is the literally the Montgomery bus boycott. But let's be honest, this isn't a civil rights crusade. This is a billionaire clinging to a last-ditch lifeline. A single juror may be confused, maybe even sympathetic, to avoid the reality of the evidence stacked against them. Again, Xavier Donaldson made an impassioned plea. That was true. We are, as Black people, underrepresented on juries. Usually, especially in the Southern District of New York and the Bronx, those jurors are all white. All great arguments. However, I don't believe that anyone Diddy is fighting for is anything outside of he thinks that somehow this juror will help him get a hung jury. Okay? So, you know what? Let's just roll it back, right? If you see Diddy sweating over this juror like it's a final rose ceremony on The Bachelor, I think we've now figured out why. His team isn't just fighting the judge. They're fighting time, they're fighting reality, and they're fighting truth. And maybe, just maybe, it looks like they think, maybe through the juror profiling, that this one juror could be the loophole they've been praying for. But remember, when you start throwing spaghetti at the wall, eventually you're left with that mess on the floor. You guys, seriously, what do you think about this? Because, yeah, it seems really odd. Again, you guys, they're not just playing the whole race card, they're throwing the whole deck. On page 2, they wrote, this juror is one of the only 2 Black men on the jury. Again, there's actually 3 if you check out the alternates, okay? Before claiming that kicking him off would erase the very perspective Diddy supposedly needs. They go so far as to say his removal would deprive Diddy of that important perspective. And no, having other Black jurors doesn't count. Apparently this one is special. That's another thing. Even if the alternate was Black, they still want to keep this one. Let you know what they're up to. Again, they're reading the jurors like table cards. The defense subtly admits that they've been watching the jurors like a hawk. They say to the judge they had an opportunity to assess the juror's demeanor at close proximity and never suggested any reason to doubt his honesty. That's legal speak for, we already vetted him, Your Honor, and we like what we see. And let's not pretend. You guys, this is Brian Still's team. They are people, again, like I said, they bring jury analysis, body language readers, and yes, the infamous YSL Granny who clocks every eyebrow twitch. If they're obsessed with this one juror, it's not about justice, it's about control. And listen, the judge did change his mind out of nowhere, and they clocked that. In a rare moment of legal side-eye, Diddy's lawyers actually said they were stunned when the judge flipped from let's give him the benefit of the doubt to he's deceptive, dismiss him now. 1 minute they said the judge said there was an understandable way to reconcile the jurors' answers, and the next minute he's declaring him unfit without even questioning him further. And Diddy's team is calling it out in writing. No, but again, they're only giving one-sided because the judge actually questioned the guy further and was not satisfied with the answers. Now again, some people say they're using Blackness like a juice cleanse, only when it benefits them. Diddy's lawyers suddenly care about racial injustice, dropping lines like the use 7 of its 9 preemptory strikes on Black jurors. People should not be precluded from serving on juries because of prior conviction. And this case will have a chilling effect on minority jurors' willingness to serve the future. That's cute coming from a man who built an empire by exploiting Black labor and dropped names the second things got hot. He's not protecting Black people, he's protecting himself. But more importantly, how many Black jurors did Diddy's team strike? Baby, and even the defense admits this isn't about civil rights, it's about bedroom drama. They said this prosecution has nothing to do with civil rights enforcement. What is being prosecuted is allegations about private sexual activity Mr. Combs engaged in. Listen, why invoke the Civil Rights Unit at all? Because they want to rebrand this as a political hit, when really it's a very expensive, very ugly, and very public unraveling of a desperate defense for a man that many people feel is guilty. So what do y'all think? Okay? What do y'all think? Again, I'm going to come out here as soon as we get the ruling, and we're going to discuss what was in the courtroom. I am live outside of the court. However, people are filming in my spot where I usually film, so I had to go off camera. But don't worry, I'll be back to reclaim my spot. In the meantime, let me let you know. Let me know what you think. Do you think the judge is going to give in or what? Anyway, you guys,
No.
let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Nope, not at all. That was before court. Y'all please hit the like button. Hold on, I got another one.
Effective, healthy blood pressure support takes more than innovation. It takes...
Just not good for him. Y'all, it's pretty much a wrap. And Brandon Paul going to stand today. There's another witness that may be in jeopardy. Come on. Hi, Randy.
My name is Sean Diddy Combs. This is the worst week ever. Listen, first of all, when it comes to Father's Day weekend, I guess he had the worst one, right? I hope the rats and roaches made him something. But you guys, there was something groundbreaking and shocking that just... Hey, how are you? There's something groundbreaking. Hey, Tito. There's something groundbreaking and shocking that just happened. Juror number 6, of course, has been dismissed. The judge gave a whole long line of reasons, but you guys, it's not over. There is a second juror that seems to be in trouble. There is a second juror that seems to be in peril. You guys, we need to talk about this, okay? We put our ear to the street. We've been hearing some stuff about why this happened, what's going on, this, that, and the third, and we wanted to come out and share it with you guys. You guys, Diddy can kiss whatever chances he had. Go by. And get this, it seems like after, hold on. It seems like after juror number 6 got dismissed, okay? It just happened moments ago. They brought up a second juror that nobody talked about. That is in peril. You guys, let's get into these notes really quick, and then I'll take a few questions, and then I got to run back into the courtroom, because you know. All right, okay? Now, first of all, they address what's going on with Bonner. You know they are trying to get a mistrial, saying she did this, she did that, she perjured, she lied, she did this, that, and the third. The judge came out and said there is absolutely no evidence of that. Stop bringing this Fulton County nonsense into this good Southern District of New York court. At this point, Diddy's team has made a circus out of what a mistrial means. Now, hear me out. They got to try. They're being paid millions to try. But yet, at this point, I think this is going to point out that when you hear the call for a mistrial, they will call it on the thinnest of bases. And they're throwing spaghetti against the wall or something-ish against the wall, and they are hoping it actually sticks. Also, you guys, have you checked out my merch store? So I have notebooks, t-shirts that say Yana, Diddy did it. I have sweatshirts, I have tank tops, I have mugs. I thought we have merch. This is just one thing, but we have other merch too. Please go and support and check out the merch store. We have mugs, we have coffee mugs, we have tank tops. The tank tops say Yana, Diddy did it. Okay, fine, I'll stop tooting my own horn. But there's a merch store. Click on the links and check it out. All right, now, they say that Bonner is not grounds for mistrial. Why is Bonner not grounds for mistrial? Because it actually happened, first of all. But second of all, the prosecution is now trying to get in phone calls from Rob Holiday. They're saying Bonner made it up. They said it is not true. You lied to this jury. Okay, but since you said that she lied, they can bring extraneous evidence. Again, Bonner never filed this of a lawsuit. She never told anybody that she was suing. She never even told anybody what was going to happen. You guys, we're going to get into the second juror really quick, and I have some insight to you on that. But first, let me just get through this, okay? And then we'll get into what happened when juror number 6 was dismissed, and then the second juror, okay? I'll be quick, but let me just go through this, right? Because it leads up and it stacks up on what's going on, okay? So anyway, they were like, so the prosecution has been like, listen, you're saying she's lying. You're saying it doesn't exist. You opened the door for this. How about we bring in Rob Holiday? Who is Rob Holiday? At one time, he was Bonner's good friend, but he was also a really, really great friend, or good friend, with Sean Diddy Combs. So how does that happen? This incident that Diddy keeps swearing never happened. Bonner lied, and here's the thing. She might have gotten the date wrong. She said they was high. They said it was years ago. We get it. However, their whole point of the matter is, if nothing happened, then why did Rob Holiday, during a get-together,
You've probably heard about Boxable's flagship product, the Casita. Come on in. Because this is so tall, it gives you a tremendous sense of space. So everyone loved.
And Diddy's backyard, from his Homely Hills home or whatever, why did he have Rob call Bonna and said, yo, I'm paraphrasing, but Diddy wants to settle, and you shouldn't sue because Diddy wants to settle. Now, she did not, in fact, settle with Diddy, okay? She did not settle with Diddy, but again, if all this is lies, then why would Diddy, the cheapest person in the world, and he got to be because you got your house rated because you want to give Little Rod 30, 40, 50,000, however much you want it, and you got your whole career and your legacy destroyed because you played in Cassie's face and didn't want to give, you played in Cassie's face, and she ended up following her lawsuit, but that sparked the investigation with the Southern District of New York, New York State, and New York City. But the Southern District of New York actually took it over. Why would you call and have this man call on your behalf to settle with something that never even happened? And they said the settlement negotiations, I believe, sources are saying, started at $1 million. Again, why would you do that? Okay? Diddy's team was fighting, no, you got to keep the evidence out of court. That's not fair, that's not fair, that's not fair. They came back and said, so anyway, the judge came back and said, and they're like, and because she, first of all, they want.
Hold on. You get another device. Hold on, y'all.
Rob Holiday during a get-together and Diddy's backyard from his Homely Hills home or whatever. Why did he have Rob call Bonna and said, yo, I'm paraphrasing, but Diddy wants to settle, and you shouldn't sue because Diddy wants to settle. Now, she did not, in fact, settle with Diddy, okay? She did not settle with Diddy, but again, if all this is lies, then why would Diddy, the cheapest person in the world, and he got to be because you got your house rated because you want to give Little Rod 30, 40, 50,000, however much you want it, and you got your whole career and your legacy destroyed because you played in Cassie's face and didn't want to give, you played in Cassie's face, and she ended up following her lawsuit, but that sparked the investigation with the Southern District of New York, New York State, and New York City. But the Southern District of New York actually took it over. Why would you call and have this man call on your behalf to settle with something that never even happened? And they said the settlement negotiations, I believe, sources are saying, started at $1 million. Again, why would you do that? Okay, Diddy's team was fighting, no, you got to keep the evidence out of court. That's not fair, that's not fair, that's not fair. They came back and said, so anyway, the judge came back and said, and they're like, and because she, first of all, they wanted the evidence kept out, saying, no, you can't bring the phone call of Rob Holiday into it because it's hearsay upon hearsay. It was a FaceTime call, first of all, right? And Bonna might have actually recorded it. I don't know. But anyway, let's bring Rob Holiday in here and see what they have to say. Diddy's team is fighting against that whilst simultaneously saying that they want a mistrial because Bonna lied. Do you see the games that they play? The fact that they know this was true. The fact that they know that this wasn't a mistrial, right? I mean, they knew it was true. The fact that they knew Bonna was doing this and they're still trying to get a mistrial, they just want it going and coming. But you can't have it both ways. Why do you want the evidence excluded if it didn't happen? But now you're trying to say it's all lie and you want a mistrial. The judge said no, it is not grounds for a mistrial. He will decide on whether that FaceTime call can come into evidence, because the government is saying since you called her a liar, it 100% proves that something happened. She might have gotten the date wrong maybe it happened on the 22nd or the 21st. Maybe it couldn't happen on the 26th because they have that thing. But maybe it happened on the 22nd, the 21st, the 20th. The point of the matter is it happened, okay? Now listen. Hey, how are you? Diddy came in smiling. He was feeling himself tiptoeing in the court, I think he thought some of these mistrials were going to be answered. I think he thought that he was going to be able to keep juror number 6 and some of these mistrials won't go through. I don't know what his lawyers are telling him, but he needs to stop listening. All right. He came in smiling after the judge said this. Not so much. He got that serious look on his face and his head was cocked to the side, right? Now, here's the thing. Then the judge went into juror number 6, right? And he had some good points. He said, listen, first of all, I want to tell you guys, he said this amount of scrutiny is not required. So he let the court already know, in my tentative decision on Friday, I had a right, okay? He's like, I had a right to stand in my ruling. But because Xavier said stuff and the court takes that very seriously, he looked into it more, right? Now, he said this morning, right?
All right, this feels almost illegal to know, but our windows were so old and just desperately needed to be replaced. So I called a few contractors, but they all quoted me a hefty $10,000 or more for new windows, and I almost lost it. That's when my friend, who's a...
Right? He said, Friday morning, we got into it. And I expressed my preliminary view that the record was insufficient to remove. Because just as an offhanded conversation, he didn't really see a point of removing it. Remember in the document, a 14-page document that Diddy filed, they were stunned in fact, that the judge, right, would actually completely around what he said, what he felt. But again, the judge said that Friday morning, I expressed my preliminary view that based on the information at hand, the record was insufficient to remove the juror, right? Now, the government filed a paper saying, okay, listen, it's up to you whether you're going to remove them, but we do think that these inconsistencies are sufficient enough. We think the juror might have issues with candor, and the candor goes to the qualification of you being a juror. See, here's the thing with a juror, right? It is a test of honesty. And I'm not saying that juror lied, but you have to be a lot of candor. So when somebody asks you where you live, there's only 2 questions that when you go into a jury they really care about. I mean, there's a lot, but these are the 2 basics. Where do you live to make sure you're in jurisdiction? And also, have you ever been arrested? You have to be overly forthcoming. You have to explain a lot. Why? Because you need candor. Because there can never be a hint or a thought or anything that you were trying to stack the deck in your favor. Now, this is a high-profile case. People write books from being on the jury. You get to go on the press circuit. Now, I'm not saying juror number 6 was interested in that, but in high-profile cases, there are reasons that people want to stay. Sometimes you just want to put your finger on the scale, whatever that may be, but ask yourself, why would you want to be there and judge whether somebody is guilty or innocent unless you have a clear bias? When you have to twist stories to go, but it's not over, right? The defense, right? The defense, when the judge was like, listen, let's talk to him. The defense Friday were the first ones to say in the morning, further questioning would have a chilling effect on a juror. So they were trying to say that if you ask a juror to even clarify, that's going to have a chilling effect. The juror might get mad. The juror might get angry. It might push the jury. They might feel like they're being watched. They were saying, don't ask any more questions. Just let that man keep going. Now, I did a video where it's like Diddy's obsession. Clearly, they're fighting. In the paper, they said that even if you brought in another juror that was black, it wouldn't be the same as that juror. Which made me think, Diddy, why do you want that juror so much?
I thought they were going to pay for it.
All the jurors, including the alternates, are all sitting in 3 rows. So the alternates are hearing and seeing everything that the 12 jurors see. There's 6 alternates, 12 jurors. So you can't make the argument, oh, well, they was working really hard and they was all together and now they're bringing in someone new and they're going to have to catch them up. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. all the jurors
because they're not even supposed to have been talking. Y'all hit the like button.
Again, why is it so
Double
important
tap your
to keep
screen. It's
that juror?
247
Hey,
people
good
in
morning.
here.
My mind keeps
Double tap your screen or hit the thumbs up. Or go ahead
Diddy
and
feel
leave,
like
please.
he's on
Thank
Tuesday
you.
Making a match.com. Now, I'm not suggesting at all that the juror was feeling Diddy. However, if you buy into the argument that Diddy has been trying to testify through body language without saying a word, then it leads me to believe, yeah, why do you want that juror so bad? Why do you want that juror so bad?
Let me go ahead and...
Listen, anyway, the defense was in a uproar, of course, right? And,
Michael, I'm gonna go ahead and remove you. Come back another day. Don't try to proposition me. You sound like you're a Diddy lover. Don't blackmail me. Don't say just come in and hitting it because you're getting the tea. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove you. Okay?
And people of color.
I'm gonna go ahead and remove you. Come back another day when you come respectfully without blackmail. Yeah,
would as
you
well.
done lost your
so
mind.
It's just an interesting thing. And he really said he took time to look it over, okay? And he put seriously thought, because like Donaldson said, you know, this is a very diverse jury, and we need more diversity in the juries. And you do have a right to be judged by your peers, and your peers are also people that experience what you experience.
Don't come in here trying to blackmail me.
In a way that someone as open-minded as they have. Again, you might be
next
white,
time do it with
right?
a cash
You
app.
might not know what it is to walk into
Send me
a
the
store
money.
and immediately start being followed around by Social Security. Immediately when you pull out a credit card, they want to see ID. They're checking signatures. You might not know what that feels like, but I can say I know what it feels
Hi
like.
to everyone
a lot.
who has
It's
come
happened
into
to
the
me
chat.
in various phases, and it's happened to me. But again, the point of the matter is that when you are just like, I might emphasize what it means to be Indian or Latino or Southeast Asian or whatever. And people might tell me, but the actual experiences of growing up as an Indian, a Latina, or Southeast Asian, or even a white woman, I can only imagine. And there's something about lived experience that juries actually does add to the pair. So Judge Aaron was like, wait, I want to be really, really careful about one, grounds for mistrial, grounds for this, grounds for that. It's going to affect everything. And there's a lot of eyes on this case. But most of all, he wanted to be fair in the interest of justice, right? And he said, listen, there were clear, he said this. So I took time to think about it. But I kept coming back to the same thing, that one, there were clear inconsistencies, and there was further inconsistencies upon questions, right? In the voir dire, he said A. In the roving room, he made an offhand comment that said B. And when he was
hello to everyone coming in the room, please hit the like button.
When he was
Everybody that comes in
right?
that says hi,
okay?
Please turn right around and hit the like
this
button.
Makes me believe and shows that the juror might lack candor or even shading. Again,
yeah, they're not honest. If you can't be honest on where you live
and with who do you live, we got 3 different answers, right? Now he did say maybe we could go and ask him a 4th time, but this goes to the heart of what a juror is.
Right.
A juror is expected to have candor on all questions, because you don't even want people to think, let alone be making an argument that you have hidden agendas. You are not being honest. And it does say something that if you're willing to shade something like that for the juror, again, in real life, this wouldn't be an issue. You just have a conversation. People have miscommunication all the time. But if you're getting into the heart of what it means to be a juror, no, right? And get this, she said for all the defense's motions and all their briefs and papers, right, the defense themselves didn't deny that the question of candor exists. You're saying we should look it over in the interest of diversity, right?
The key to being rich is knowing what counts.
Diversity, right? And they said that, yes, we understand that, like, a black juror replaced for a white juror does feed into typical historic underrepresentation,
well,
right?
The black man shouldn't have came in line.
He was giving, like, very clear. He said the court takes seriously all things, questions, and issues related to race and diversity, right? But he said this, That said, taking the defense advisement and asking further questions, it's a non-starter, right? Because the answers have already shifted. And now we're trying to invite more shifting. Because that's what it is, more shifting, right? The juror has opened the bottle, and a juror cannot put the genie back in the bottle. To the defense's point, and I know the defense is like, oh, why we make that argument? He said to the defense's point, right? The further questioning could have a negative impact on the jury. It could make it seem like it's hostile. We don't believe them. We're watching them. Again, it could have a chilling impact. So even if we asked another question like you're suggesting now, your first argument back on Friday, Diddy's team, that it could have a chilling effect. He said that's a good point. Why, when we already know what it is, do we need to give a fourth round to have more shifting answers? And he said, and also, this is exactly why we have alternate jurors. This is the sole reason of us having alternate jurors. So that when there is any issue, any whiff, anything that we're just like, I don't know about that, we bring the alternate jurors in, right? Listen, they said, I get what Diddy's team is. Diddy get a Mistrial off of
y'all coming in and not hitting the like button. Can you double tap your screen just like this? That bam, bam on your phone, please. Jury
doesn't raise these concerns of diversity. Usually the juries are all white or all whatever. He said this jury, like Mr. Donaldson argued, right, and argued very well, is one of the most diverse juries that they're ever seen in the Southern District of New York. So even this guy goes, okay, it's still a super, super diverse. And he said, I also have to say this. It is improper to let race factor into a process when we are talking about issues about truth and candor. Again, not implying the juror lied, but there needs to be a certain level of candor, a heightened level of candor that exists when you are, when you are on a jury, all right? That's in Kentucky, right? And he said, no defendant has a right for a jury that is all your race. I know we can get into that, but that's almost a completely different case. But they said where it applies, right? They also said that race is unrelated to justice. And we cannot let that factor in when there are issues related to candor.
This is why I say I understand why a lot of my culture goes to jail because they think how they feel is the law.
Against the defense's objections. And the first
alternate
will come in, right? He also turned around and said, and let me say also with this, the defense is bringing up things where there is no basis, saying the government is discriminating, the government's doing this, the government, I think that I've checked the record through and through, there is absolutely at every level no basis. They're bringing up the search warrant again. They're bringing up the fact that, they're bringing up the search warrant. They're bringing up the fact
that,
you cheated us meanly. They're bringing up all these things, and they are trying to play the race card. And I hate that Diddy even has me using the term race card because I usually find that term so offensive as a black person. When you talk about discrimination, when you talk about this, when you talk about that, you're not playing the race card. You're telling what reality is.
He taking advantage of that.
Hey guys, this is U.S. Senator John Ossoff in Georgia. And before you hit this ad, just hear me out because
race card, you're telling what reality is. But Diddy, he's playing the race card. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Listen, he said the defense keeps bringing up issues where there is no basis. And they said, and if you do have a basis, if you do see something improper, then you need to put it in writing and literally ask the court to move for that. So he's basically trying to say, it's like you guys are trying to say this deck is stacked against you, but I'm just like, yo, okay, so, what's the issue? Let's talk about it. Is something going on? Do I need to get involved? That's what the judge is saying to defense. Do I need to get involved? Is there something going on? And when you say, okay, but wait, what's going on? They're like, oh, well, never mind. We don't want to talk about it. But then every time they catch the media, they're like, this is unfair. The prosecution's racist, this and that. If you feel, and the judge finally put his foot down and said, if you feel so strongly about that, then you need to start putting it in writing and going in front of the court so the court can address and solve the issues. My issue is, I don't think they want to address and solve the issues. I don't think anything. I think they know there's nothing there. I think what they're trying to do is create a media sandstorm to create the implication there's something improper. Because don't forget, what did Diddy say?
To control the narrative.
He didn't say he would pardon Diddy if he's innocent. Because if he's innocent, I would assume he would get found guilty. He said he would pardon Diddy if he gets treated unfairly. Now, we can have the argument again on whether Trump is actually going to pardon Diddy. That's a non-starter. The whole point is also, you guys, I have merch in my merch store. I have journals. I have Guyana, Diddy Did It shirts, t-shirts, sweatshirts. I have drinking bottles. I have coffee cups. Go ahead and support your girl. This is just one thing, but I do finally have merch. Yes, I took time this weekend.
Hello, Michael.
Merch. The links are in. Well, actually, if you're on YouTube,
You
below,
can
you can scroll my merch. But just go to the store. There's a lot of stuff there, okay? And also, let me know what other merch you'd like to see, because I can make more, okay? But I do like the Yana. It's like Yana t-shirts been in the back. It's
Michael,
like
are you Michael Scott?
And tank tops, sweatshirts, all that stuff. Anyway, but there's merch, okay? Anyway, y'all. The whole point of the matter is getting back to this thing of bases. Diddy doesn't. It doesn't matter whether at this point whether Trump is going to pardon Diddy or not. Because I don't think that Diddy will actually get pardoned by Trump. But that doesn't mean Diddy doesn't think he can get. And all Diddy has to do in his mind, he thinks, and again, he's grasping it, but he's desperate, is create the illusion he's being treated unfairly. And if that is, that will be enough to serve up to Trump. But you need to get the narrative in the media. Oh, he's being unfair. I heard the jurors did this. I heard prosecution doing that. That is why the judge shut all that down and said, if you see something, then you need to say something. Because if you don't see anything, then you need to stop all this chatter. Because there is an actual
delay in the
process to address everything you've said and put it on the record. And you guys are not taking it, which makes me think, well, y'all already know what I think, right? Now, here's the thing. He also said the issues addressing the two jurors. Now, when that happened, I was like, what? Two jurors. What are y'all talking about, right? I said, who? They said, we've addressed one juror. The issue with the other juror, you need to address in a separate issue. I said, who is addressing anything in a separate issue? Again, I'm like, who is the second juror? They said questions were raised, right? And he said, first of all, when we address these questions, race can absolutely, he said it won't come into play. So just shut it down right now, which leads me to believe that whoever the second juror is, they are a person of color or they're black. Again, this is very direct. For them to say that race won't come into play, and I doubt Diddy's team is going to complain about getting a white juror kicked off, because I think they actually want that, right?
Leonardo, remove your comments.
It was,
or I'm going to remove you.
They wanted that juror for a reason. But get this, right? They said race won't come into play, okay?
Retract your comment,
and
Leonardo Avila, or I'm going to remove you.
Were huddling after the judge issued that, right? The second juror is in trouble, okay? Now, I thought Friday something happened, but I put my ear to the ground, and it's a little bit different.
Leonardo Avila,
because of maybe what
remove your comments
this is why
about a race, a culture of people being nasty, or I'm going to remove you. Retract it now.
Juror number 7, or whatever they are, let's just call them number 7. I don't know if they are number 7.
Do you know where the fuck you at?
That happened, like whatever the juror is. I'm just saying 7. I don't know if it's juror number 7.
Get out of here. Y'all say bye to Leonardo. He don't know where he at.
That he immediately.
He said black people are nasty.
In front of us. That immediately he bought, or she.
Y'all say bye to Leonardo.
To the judge's attention, to the court's attention. So whatever the issue is, they are being 100% candor. Do you see how that works, right? There will always be miscommunications, but you expect the juror to have utmost candor. You expect the juror to tell you what's going on without you having to investigate, and you expect the juror to sit there and be completely candid, not honest, but, honesty is candor, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not implying jury number 6 was lying, but you expect the jury to be includingly candid and bring what they know.
You better say Diddy nasty.
Court and let the court decide if that's an issue. That is what this juror did. So you guys, this is breaking news. Maybe they are clearing that jury out like, even though I will say the next juror is a, the next juror actually is a black man. So I think it's going to be, the alternate juror is a black man, right? That's going to be moved down. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting. First of all, I'm having my ear to the ground to see exactly the issue they brought to the court. But that new juror, that second juror that's in trouble, brought the issue to the court and said, hey, do with it what you want. I stand by your decision, but I wanted to bring this too. And again, this is why it is so important to be 100%, have a lot of candor. And also, zero tolerance for nonsense. Because if Judge Aaron had been like, oh, whatever, and listen to like what Diddy's team said, oh, whatever, like it's just, y'all tripping, it's fine, like who cares, Jersey, New York, it doesn't matter where you live. If he had been lenient, there's a chance that when this other thing happened for the other jury, they would have been like, it's not that big a deal. And they would have made a decision on whether they thought it was a big deal or not. They would have made their decision and not brought it to the court, and that could have caused bigger issues or resulted in a mistrial. Then Judge Aaron had a zero tolerance policy for any of nonsense, and he set the tone for the other jurors to be fully aware and fully honest about what is going on. Now, here's the interesting that's going to be. What's Diddy going to do? What's Diddy going to do? Because here's the thing. If this juror gets kicked off, there's going to be another black man. The next alternate to come in, I believe, is a black man, right? Because the other one that took juror number 6 spot, he is a white man. There was a white man, and the other juror is black. So how are you going to argue this?
The Health Food Allowance card is available for those on Medicare. This card can be worth a lot per year. That
other juror is black. So how are you going to argue this? How are you going to argue this? Are you now on the side of just kicking people off because you just spent all weekend yelling about no, the sanctity, that we need this juror, and now what are you going to? It's not a big deal. Let it go. Y'all tripping. What are you going to argue now that it can work in your favor? This guy gets out of here, and you can have someone that you think will be more lenient. Rose J, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rose J, for the super chat. Also, there's about 6,000 of y'all in here. Can y'all please hit the like button? Just double check the screen. Give me some likes. Y'all know I'm trying to grow. I'm out here fighting the good fight. We are doing what we can. So again, it's gonna be interesting. Is Diddy team going to flip, right? Or are they going to do something more interesting, more important? I will say that Shapiro, Westmoreland, and Brian, they were all in a huddle. Diddy's whole team was melting down. This is not good for Diddy. The jury, I did stay to watch to see the jury walking back in, right? Diddy was passing notes furiously to Mark Agnifilio. I will say it does look like they broke up that little triangle. They didn't just slide someone over. All the jury was, the jury just didn't get one person at it and everybody slid over a seat. It actually moved things along. I will say one juror looked like they came in and had a problem. Just was sitting there looking mad. And I was like, in my head, you better fix your face because the judge is not playing. Pam G, thank you so much for the super chat. Also, you guys, please double tap to like. Listen, you don't need to hit the like button. Just double. If you're watching on your screen, just double tap to like. I would appreciate that. Anyway, you guys, they broke up that problem triangle. Again, that other juror, Honeybee Therapy, thank you so much for the super chat. That other juror that everybody's talking about, or some people are concerned about, they're sitting right across from the prosecution. And now the prosecution has people in court all the time watching every movement that Diddy makes to the jury and to the back. They are watching that mofo like a hawk. Again, they are
as
watching
they
that
should.
mofo like a hawk. It could be
tried
nothing.
To tell Pressure
it
that.
could be whatever, but they have people over the courtroom whose job
Watching.
is now just to stare at the jury and also stare and see what Diddy is doing. G Holmes 21, thank you so much for the super chat.
I tried to tell y'all that.
Morning, everybody. Oh, thank you so much, I am Regine. Listen,
At the
Once
end
Diddy got
of
caught,
the day, right?
giving
Listen,
clues and
at
nods.
the end of the day,
It was a
it
wrap,
is.
baby.
Oh, Maria Morales, thank you so much for the super chat. At the end of the
All
day, it
eyes
actually
on
is
Diddy
what it
and the
is.
jury.
There's a lot of questions
That's
raised.
why
We're
he
gonna
tried
have
to
to
pull
see
that
how
stunt
that
with
breathes life
Yay.
into the channel, but hey, it is. Oh, also Lisa McClung said, "Good morning, Tisa. So glad I woke up in time for live. Keep up the great work. Much love, you guys. Thank you so much. I posted a video this morning because I was like trying to get some tea for you guys. I ended up posting a video. I was half in and outside, but anyway, I just wanted to show off my merch. But y'all, what do y'all actually think about this? I think it is a lot. It's going to be interesting to see if if Diddy's team makes an argument that they should actually now kick somebody off the jury, so the alternate, when they just said that it's a big deal and it's going to have a chilling effect. And I will say one thing, the prosecution is not playing with those jurors. Let's also not forget the prosecution is starting. I'm sorry, it's resting this week. Brenda Paul is expected to testify today. You know, turn your notifications on. I'm coming out straight after Brenda Paul. But let's also not forget that the Brenda Paul's testifying. They just got evidence submitted with that secret phone Diddy had with KK. They said Bonna testimony will not be thrown out. And on top of that, they are not moving for a mistrial. The prosecution is trying to bring in evidence from Rob Holiday that Bonna actually was telling the truth. There's so many bad things that happened for Diddy this weekend, and baby, we love to see it. There were so many bad things that happened for Diddy. You guys already know. I truly believe that man is a monster, and I believe anybody that's protecting him is a monster. Okay. There has been no sightings of Kanye West. Diddy's defense is launching next week, so it is going to be a hell of a baloo of a time. I will also say, too, people saying that they don't see Rico. Y'all don't know what Rico is. I am going to maybe do a live tonight about is it Rico.
A lot of people don't know what Rico is.
So far, there's a summary witness that's in trial today. The summary witness is when they tie all the text messages, all the legal background, all that. They tie it into current testimony. Ivy Curtis said, good morning. Information about pardons. The presidential pardon can only cover federal offenses, while state pardons are granted by the governor or the state board of pardons. I completely agree with you guys, but right now it's unbeknownst to us whether there is a state investigation in New York, California, or in Miami. Again, this is where Diddy's playground was. It would not surprise me if he gets pardoned. They'll go after him, but you never know. I just don't honestly think, I hope not, that the presidential pardon comes down. I don't think that any administration, let alone Trump's, wants an Ishtar standing next to Diddy. Now, on the way out, if Trump plans to leave office, on the way out, maybe there will be a pardon in the books. I don't know. Trump has done some controversial stuff and pardoned some controversial people. But as of right now, I don't think that Trump could, I don't think that any politician would want that Ishtar. Now, there is something to be made that after he's done jail for 2, 3, maybe 4 years, there might be a pardon forthcoming from either Trump or a new administration coming in, but I think it would probably be a leaving administration. And let's not forget, every administration that leaves after every 4 years, they might find a way to, no matter what it is, to be like, oh, he served enough time, let it go, new evidence. You see what I'm saying? But as of right now, I don't think anybody's administration could actually justify a pardon. And by justify, I mean, like, why would you even want to take that political weight? Why would you even want that? Why would you basically catch the stray for that mofo? Where that's the one thing I can say. Diddy has reunited left, right, center, libertarian, like left side, center, libertarian, MAGA, ultra liberal, anarchist. He's united everyone. Where everybody's like, yeah, I believe that mofo's guilty. He has united everyone. All right?
They sure do.
Listen,
let
me tell you guys. Listen,
by the look, smile,
I'm going to keep you updated.
gesture,
I have
body
to run back
language,
into the courtroom
and they've been warned.
Miss Brenda Paul's testimony, but I'm
They've
telling
been
you right
warned.
now, and I know people are like, oh,
And he lied.
8%
He's
of
not
the people
truthful.
in the courtroom
He's not
said they don't.
trustworthy.
That's not true. That is not true. Listen to the legal atlas from Nard, from Burden of Proof. She feels like the prosecution pulled her case. The people that were prosecutors, the people that were actually lawyers that are in the courtroom, and seasoned veterans, right? And also even like YouTubers that know that they are saying that The government is proven Rico. Listen, sex
They
trafficking, you don't
clear.
need 100 victims. You only need one. Everybody agrees that Cassie was at least one. Jane, just second. With Rico, you only need 2 underlying predicates. Right now, Diddy has obstruction from that secret phone. He has
Robbery,
kidnapping, bribery,
extortion.
sex trafficking. Baby,
Yeah,
the
he
list
outta here.
goes on and on and on and on. The government has proven their case. And that's the thing with governmental cases. You don't need a million examples. You only need one. For Rico, you only need 2 acts. For sex trafficking, you only need 1. They have proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, this would explain why Diddy is fighting so hard to make sure that juror number 6 stayed in there. However, we all know what happened with juror number 6. So that is that, right? Anyway, you guys, listen, I'm not Nostradamus. Nor do I pretend to be. But I do know from sitting in that courtroom, listen, a lot of people, and I don't want to talk about anyone in particular because, you know, everybody out here grinding. This is no disrespect, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular. But I will say that Diddy's, does he have PR on the ground? I don't know, because they're doing a horrible effing job if he does. But there are a lot of narratives being pushed, and I don't think they're coming organically from people sitting in the courtroom. I think they're people that maybe they don't realize or not
will be in prison for the rest of his
you guys
life.
know I am very, if you want to call it.
He's gonna be there for a while.
I think that there should be some type of accountability. I
don't think he's gonna leave prison before he leaves this earth.
At Sweet Bee Organics, we believe in the power of
That's
nature's
just my
ingredients to nurture your body and soul. Unlike conventional products.
But if you get what I'm saying, right? If you get what I'm saying, everybody has their own bias. But I will say that I'm a fierce advocate for survivors of SA, survivors of DV. I'm a fierce advocate for that. Everybody knows that. If you don't know, welcome to my channel. But I am, so I'm always going to say that someone that treated women and men like that. I don't need to see a billion examples because for every one time they called you this,
hey, Max to the boogie.
You got away with it. No,
Max to the boogie.
And people need to be held accountable. And no, it's a new day, and we're not going for it.
Did you have a good day yesterday?
Listen, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I can stand on 2 feet and say the angle I'm looking at things from, and I'll actually give you the.
They got
advocacy,
another
like,
juror.
I actually think that I'm going to get my way.
That may be on their way out.
That are hearing stuff from Diddy's camp and passing along stupid narratives.
I just don't think that Ye coming and trying to disrupt, deflect, and all of that was a good idea. Ain't nothing wrong with
thank you so much for the super chat.
getting
Even
freaky,
narrative that
and
people
ain't nothing wrong
are
with
trying to
some
say
bump and
that the
grind.
prosecution
Okay,
resting
tell that to Ari Kelly.
Weak. Are y'all dumb? Not
That's
dumb.
why he scared somebody trying to kill him.
There's not
Because something was wrong with a little bump and grind with minors.
So
something is wrong with a little bump and grind with triple X workers.
Let Diddy have a round.
It's against the law.
Cross-examination. Again, they end the trial early.
Something must be wrong. His ass on that stand, in trial. But I don't suggest you do it. But if you choose to, child dog, go right ahead.
Dead to rights. Why would we keep wasting our time, energy, and taxpayer dollars? We have other criminals to catch. Wrap it up.
I think any man or woman who agrees with this behavior is a predator as well.
It's ridiculous, and it's a dumb assertion. Hey, Potato
That's just my opinion.
Hi, Tisa. Hi, chat. What's up, Potato? How you doing? Exactly. It also respects the juror's time. But that's crazy. That's like saying, oh, you losing your game. So you're going like literally in Super Bowl, be like, never mind. We're just going to the locker room. Nobody does that, especially prosecutors that that think they're losing. They would have everybody up on that stand. And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
anyway,
to me,
guys,
that
listen,
diversion with Ye was because they were losing. That's my opinion as well. That stunt was because they were losing. Popular streamer Duchess Dior. Another content creator was on a live. How long ago was this? 4 minutes ago. Oh my God. Duchess Dior. Have y'all heard this? Oh my God, not another one. What is this? Is this, Duchess Dior, a popular streamer, on live stream by husband, the Frenchman. Do anybody know who Duchess Dior is? Pretty girl. Well, why would he her on a live stream? See, this is just why I be trying to tell people. People take content creators and they take clicks and views and fake arguments turn into real arguments, and wow. Rest in peace, Duchess Dior. Okay, Mary. I am not finna fake I am not finna fake comment beef with nobody on YouTube. I'm not finna go back and forth with none of y'all. If you believe he is innocent, you believe he innocent. If you don't believe he gonna spend a day in jail, that is your opinion. I ain't finna go back and forth with you, baby, because I know I got sense and I know the law. And shout out to y'all who don't. I hope you don't break it. I hope you do not break the law. I hope you do not try to do what Diddy did. Yeah, he in jail now. Low long. That's why I can't argue with people. He crying about going to jail every day. That's why some of these people elevator don't go all the way up to the top. And who ain't finna go back and forth with them is me. Don't it say something about arguing with a FOOL? I ain't gonna do it, baby. Let me get back to where I was. Yeah, and he already in jail. What do you mean? You can spend a day in jail? Yeah, Mary, she's slow. He already in jail for over a year. What do you mean? They just pop in and trolling, and they think it's cute and funny, and it's just showing that they don't have no intelligence. They slow to the bus. They slow to the slow bus. The elevator don't go to the and the elevator got a out of service under construction sign. Hell, they missed that too. It just ain't working. No, they just want to troll. They just want to have something to say. They want somebody to go back and forth with them. They are paid for. I guess she meant to say he's not going to spend a day in prison because hell, he in jail. Crying about that. wanting some entitlement there. Wanting to change the rules. It ain't working for him. Every stunt he pulled get knocked down. And when I mean knocked down, I mean knocked the hell down. This judge ain't playing. He ain't agreeing none of that bullshit. You are going from jail to prison real soon. Real soon, AunTeaFee. Real soon. Yeah. Real soon. Yeah, hold on, y'all. Let's get to this next one.
Look at you. You're doing
real soon. And I am not, and I do mean not, going back and forth with some I feel like I'm being mean to the needy, mentally needy. Yeah. I'm not doing that. Diddy riding on the rims.
Question from Mikey John. Elizabeth, are you surprised that Jules and Sean Combs, what you need him to pick up before his flight to Miami?
Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to get it.
On the one hotel. This is a summary.
They got a summary guy there that's going over more evidence. This, baby, I told y'all the end of week 1, Cassie was just the meat, or was the bread. They were getting the meat for the sandwich and the condiments for the sandwich, all the fixings, and they was gonna eat that ass up. I told y'all, that's what's happening right now. All these witnesses coming out, and they finna eat that ass up. Eat that ass up. Say what? Hi, Cecilia. I'm getting it together right now, my sister. Here we go. Here we go. Let's get ready. Get my likes up, y'all, please. Please.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Jesse Weber, and thanks for joining us on our continued live coverage of the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial out of New York Federal Court. It is the lunchtime show, this next hour and a half, where we take your questions, not only about the testimony that's happening today, but everything about this case. And there is certainly a lot that's been happening as we are now in week 6 of this trial, believe it or not. Now, we're going to work on getting Elizabeth Milner, our law and crime reporter who's in that courtroom every day, including today's testimony, up with us, tell us everything that's been going on. So one of the things, if you have questions for Elizabeth, how's the jury responding? How's Diddy responding? Who's there? What does she make of the evidence that's being presented? Make sure to submit those questions, and when we get Elizabeth up in the next hour or so, we'll make sure to answer those questions. I have an all-star panel that I'm going to bring on in a minute, not yet, because I have to let you know what has been happening in court today. So much. So first of all, juror was dismissed. Yep, a juror was dismissed, replaced by an alternate. This came out last week, was finalized today. There was a discussion about whether or not there was going to be more arguments or more discussion about this juror, but the judge made a decision. I mean, this is a juror who, according to the court, according to the judge,
so I can
was
officially speak.
or shading answers.
Y'all get the likes up for me, please. Like, share, subscribe to the
about their living situation.
Membership. Please support the platform. I need all the support I can get.
Another issue that
I'm just now coming back monetized, so
that's going to be worked out towards the end of the day.
Please support the platform. I would greatly appreciate it.
Alternate jurors in such a high-profile case.
But can we start by hitting the likes?
Of the day, summary witness. Anya Sankar, a paralegal specialist with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. This is a summary witness. When you have a voluminous amount of material or evidence, you call in a summary witness to basically summarize what this evidence is, summarize the government's charts. And this is somebody who reviewed hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents, text messages, call logs, audio files, videos, images. If you ask me, this is really to secure a few points here. The racketeering charge, transportation to engage in prostitution charge, help support sex trafficking. Why? Let me give you an example of some of the messages that were read aloud in court that the jury heard. So you have these messages between assistants of Sean Combs and Christina Coram, KK, Sean Combs' purported former chief of staff. This is a message from Ryan Lopez to KK. LOL, think I saw one of the cowboys today. You can spot them in a lobby like an escort. I forgot to tell you about it. Now KK responds, by the way, how long is he going to stay awake? And then Lopez responds, LOL, I'm guessing until tomorrow night. So that knowledge component about, what are they, freak-offs, wild king nights, hotel nights, what the prosecution basically says are crime scenes, that's important. Racketeering, the more you can talk about the inner circle, racketeering conspiracy, they all knew what was going on, that's important. There were these text messages that I thought were interesting between Sean Combs' assistant and KK about planning for hotel nights, and there was a conversation about Cassie Ventura, alleged victim number 1 in this case. In one message, They discuss adding the
I'll
name
tell you
of
at the
an
end of the
escort
show,
to the
Tamika.
hotel room file. There's messages between KK and other assistants where they discuss getting cash, $4,000. Again, transportation to engage in prostitution, sex trafficking, commercial sex acts. There has to be a payment there. There's this other text exchange I want to get into where KK tells an assistant, heads up, he's probably about to do Wild King tonight. Again, knowledge component. There's an assistant, Dave Shirley, who hasn't testified in this trial as of yet, wrote in response, need to re-up on baby oil.
You got to support my
Then you got
platform
another message.
before you
KK
ask me
texted
to go
Cassie
to another.
Ventura
Come on,
saying,
Tamika.
"Hi,
Come on
Dave
now.
is at your door with the green." Assuming that means, money.
You have to be new
One of
over
KK's
here. That's
messages
not
said in part,
And did
your
you
damage
speak
charges
at all?
on the one hotel are always high. They talk about how
No.
these elaborate sexual events did create damages to hotel rooms. There was this interesting message between KK and Diddy and one of his security guards, Fahim Muhammad. Puff, can you text Fa what you need him to pick up before his flight to Miami? Combs responds, Molly, 15 pills. Anytime you talk about drug offenses, it's one of the underlying crimes of racketeering. And also, remember what the prosecutor
And we
said.
can't
He said
deny
that
them
he's using
them
drugs to
DRUGSs, can we?
There was this message that Fahim Muhammad
We
had
definitely
sent to
can't, because
Combs,
the guy who was
KK,
supplying them is
and the
coming
account
up today.
master in April
It's a wrap.
2023, just gave $5K to Brendan for hotel. Brendan Paul, maybe one of the assistants, maybe somebody who was, transporting drugs. There was about messages
Thank
about
you,
flight information
Mr.
for
Dollar.
escorts, flight information for an alleged victim, Jane, transportation to engage in prostitution. This one's interesting. There was a text that Jane, alleged victim number 2 in this case, had sent KK saying in part, he just threatened me about my sex tapes that he has of me on 2 phones. He said that he would expose me and send them to my child's father. Is that a form of coercion for sex trafficking? Forcible coercion to induce her to engage in commercial sex acts. And quickly on cross-examination, they were highlighting, I think, some of the messages that might be beneficial to them. So a message that Jane had sent where I'm excited to surprise him. Was she really being coerced into these sexual episodes, or was she planning them herself? This one's interesting. KK had asked Jane to call her, said that Combs was trying to figure out plans, and Jane responds in part, my answer to him is no, and it is still no. If you ask me, that goes to a level of autonomy. She could say no. She could get out. Not the classic example of sex trafficking. Right now we have another witness on the stand.
She had already been trafficked. What do you mean? She had already at that point been trafficked.
Let me bring on my all-star panel.
She
I'm joined
just
by
succumbing
Hoppy
to
Patterson, trial attorney,
the lifestyle.
legal expert, criminal defense attorney William Corman, and with me in studio, trial attorney Aaliyah Roberts. It's great to have everybody here. Aaliyah, I'll start with you. So good to see you. It's been a minute.
You too, Jesse.
Happy to have you in the studio. What are you making from the evidence today?
I think from the evidence today, at most, it kind of bolsters the prosecution's case. As you said before, there is this idea where there's so much information that you need someone to come together and kind of summarize, for lack of a better term, what it is that is going on. I think that from a standpoint of, like you said, the racketeering component, we have the transportation for drugs, we have the paying of the hotel rooms, we have the request from his assistants, his employees, to purchase those drugs, to purchase those hotel rooms. So from that standpoint, I do think that from the racketeering standpoint, we have something here. I think, like you said before, from Jane Doe, the fact that she was able to say no might lead the jury to believe, well, maybe she didn't have autonomy. Maybe she wasn't forced as she said that she was. But then you also have this sex tape that he's threatening to release that information. So there's still arguably a hold over her, even if she might have felt that she had some autonomy. So it really just depends to, as with all trials, whether or not the jury believes which side they believe and how much weight they give to that evidence.
And is consent so clear cut? Maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, they already had a witness testify about some of the the complicated issues surrounding a trauma, surrounding a sex trafficker or abuser-victim relationship. We got an update from court too, so I'm going to read you updates and break them down in real time with my panel. So the prosecutor asks this special agent, another summary witness, who are the participants in this chat? Jules and Sean Combs. We know that Jules is one of the alleged sex workers in this case. You read Jules, and so the special agent, as Jules says, I'm available Friday through Sunday, whatever flights work, which one? And then Combs says Friday at 4. AunTeaFee, this is the kind of evidence that makes it look like transportation to engage in prostitution is the easiest charge for prosecutors to ultimately convict Sean Combs of, no?
Oh, absolutely. And also, I think a lot of this testimony today is just fertilizing the argument of conspiracy. It's showing how involved everyone on the staff, on the team was. We're talking about the Wild King nights, or we're talking about, oh, maybe not Wild King night, but maybe the Gucci bag night. So they have knowledge of everything that he does. They have a routine. They know what to do before, they know what to do during, they know what to do after, they know where to drop the money, they know how much money to drop. So it's doing a fantastic job of just adding this good fertilizer to the conspiracy charge. And I think doing a perfect job showing, exploring this with the transportation matter.
William, we got some questions coming in. Where is this? It was a great question. Now I'm trying to see where it is. Where is it? Okay, good question. This is a great question from Nestdog, who's, by the way, been such a frequent contributor to the questions on this panel. So thank you so much. This is from Nestdog, or Monique Adams. Actually, might be quoting Monique Adams. Serious question. When Puff starts his defense, how can he disprove all his charges when all the key witnesses are with the feds?
Well, I'm sure his attorneys have a plan in mind, but the fact of the matter is this, is the government has done, as other panelists have said, a very good job sort of laying out all the elements necessary to prove the Rico. The transportation, the drugs, the coercion, I think they've done a fantastic job. So
data annotation is wonderful. You can work from your phone, your laptop, or desktop. It's actually interesting work.
The pay is very consistent.
The pay is good. You were able to shoot.
To consent. Did they have autonomy? Could they have said, hey, not tonight? And he's going to use the government's own evidence, the materials that they've already received, the text messages, things along those lines, and basically say, hey, look, these cut both ways. Here are messages that show the women are saying no. Here are messages that show the women are saying, I don't know that I want to be involved right now, or tonight's not a good night. So it does cut both ways. Again, I think it's a tough road to hoe. I think it's definitely an uphill battle, but I think that's how they're going to do it.
Aaliyah, we got a super chat question from Richard Esial. Thank you so much, Richard, also frequent contributor here on our lunchtime shows. With the dismissal of Juror 6, is there a concern of that juror leaking information or interfering with this case now that he or she is out?
I think that's a serious concern that always happens when jurors are no longer, on the actual panel. I think that the juror has been instructed by the judge not to talk about the case. The same rules apply even if he was on the panel still. Don't talk about the case, don't share any evidence. But I think that at this point, if evidence is shared, evidence is leaked, it can definitely be attributed to that specific juror because he's no longer on the panel.
But they could do an interview if they want.
In theory, I'm sure they could, right? I would hope that the judge has some sort of, order that they can't talk about the case until it's been dismissed, but we don't know that to be true, right? Just because the juror has been dismissed, of course, they are free to speak freely as they deem fit. But I would hope that in such a large public case like this, the judge had some sort of order that you can't do certain media or things like that based off of the severity of the case.
Afi, got a question from Mayo D. Hi, Jesse. Watching from Vienna, Austria. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. What time zone is it there right now? Anybody know what the time zone is in Vienna, Austria? We'll figure that out. But thank you so much for watching. Are jurors allowed or encouraged to do research on certain topics related to the case? For example, on the psychology of a victim. Afi, there is we lawyers, we always say, yeah, it's maybe. There's a resounding answer to that one. You want to answer it?
Absolutely not. And, that's the thing. In voir dire, you always have to... You need to examine your potential juror because you have jurors who are really, really into crime. And, you always have a juror who's going to want to study the events. They're going to want to study the psychology of the alleged victims and the defendant. You're going to have jurors that want to pass by crime scenes. They want to do reenactments. Like, absolutely. You're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to take everything in during the trial. When you leave the trial, you take your trial hat off, you go home, and then you come back. So you're supposed to take everything that the defense and the prosecution says during the trial, and that's it. And again, that's why you have a proper voir dire before the trial starts, so you can really get to know your potential juror and who you're going to have sitting there judging the defendant, and really judging the defendant as well as the attorneys.
By the way, going back to this juror issue, the defense took issue with this juror being excluded, being dismissed, because they said you are basically replacing you're getting rid of a black juror on this case. And the judge actually took issue because I'm not going to make race the deciding
Hi,
factor for
Tamika.
why this juror is being excused. But let me just give you an idea here. So we believe, reporting indicates that juror number 6, who's been dismissed, is a 41-year-old black male who works as a clerk at a correctional facility. Said he was a fan of 90s hip-hop. Maybe that's why the defense kind of wanted him on there as well. But he was replaced by an alternate juror.
Get released on what? I mean,
lives with his wife and 2 kids in Westchester County.
what are you
He's a
saying,
manufacturing
David?
architect with a master's
He didn't do
degree in
any of
mechanical
this. What are you
engineering.
saying? Getting
Said-
released
said
on
he
what?
took
The
some
guns
media coverage of the
being
allegations
found in
against
his
Uphold.
house. Getting released on the DRUGS.
Question from Ashton
Getting
McComb.
released
Can
on
someone be given
admitting
immunity
that he
if
was
they give the
abusive.
government
No, I want you to tell
information
me
but do not testify?
how is he gonna get released?
Yes. The government sometimes decides who they're going to give immunity to before they actually figure out who they're going to call as a witness. So there could be background information.
He gonna
that they
take his
provided
own
to the feds,
unalive
that
himself.
allow them to shape their case a certain way. There could have been other information that took place.
That's the only way he
before the
gonna get
case started
released.
during the course of the investigation. So yes, informants can get, or individuals can get immunity even if they aren't called to testify. It happens all the time.
Gotcha. We got this question from Candela. I'll throw this to you, Aaliyah. Shouldn't more expert witnesses be called, like psychologists, to try to explain some of Cassie's choices are common for domestic violence?
That is the only way he's getting out. Hey, Leo.
As some believe. May I, before I throw it to you, may I give a little bit of context to this?
Yes, of course.
We know that Dr. Dawn Hughes testified, right, for the prosecution. It is my understanding there was an effort to have her recalled. That's not going to be allowed. The judge said if you wanted to ask her questions about, there's one thing to ask about Cassie, but about other alleged victims who testified, like those victims who were in an employee-employer relationship.
No, it's to convict him because he's guilty of these offenses.
Did what they did, whether it's
what are y'all gonna say when his mule testified today?
So she's not going to be recalled.
One of his suppliers testified. Somebody who got arrested with him. What are y'all gonna say then? Oh, I can't stand when people slow. Oh my goodness. Oh, I be wanting to get y'all up out of here.
Intertwined in this case, it would have been helpful to have.
I do not like slow people.
Exactly what you were just talking about,
in
right?
my comments.
The emotional standpoint. I would have an engaged in conversation with individuals online. I'd say, haven't you watched?
He's not guilty of what?
Right? You
so
have
that wasn't
that
his house.
Come in and speak to. This is
that wasn't his private jet where they found stuff on his private jet.
Want to be engaged in some sort of contact or communication with their abusers.
David, be quiet. Please don't say nothing else because you're slow, and I don't want to feel like
that,
I'm being mean to the slow bus people.
They still communicate. They still might receive things from their abuser, and there's that intertwined relationship. So to the point that the judge was right? You get one bite at the apple. Your witness is on the stand. You have direct testimony. You should have had your questions. You should have been prepared. You should have included that. Of course, now we've already provided all of our witnesses at the prosecution. Their case is about to close, and the defense counsel is about to come on and present their case. So shoulda, coulda, woulda. But I don't think that Dr. Hughes' testimony alone was not enough. I think it's always helpful to have more, but then the judge has to determine how fast to swiftly move the case along.
So one of the things we do here is not only take the great questions and get great answers, but not only do we also break down what's happening in real time in court, we also put up polls. So we had a poll that we just put up. Juror 6 was replaced by an alternate juror this morning. Will this help the prosecution? 56% say yes. Delay the trial, 29% say that. And
put that little helmet on.
Really interesting numbers right there.
So you won't fall and bump your head and make your situation worse.
Being questioned by the prosecution.
I totally agree.
Where are the flights between? The special agent says LA and JFK in New York. Again, transportation.
And on top of that, he got more charges and cases coming, trials coming. This just in New York. You got California and Florida coming.
Yes,
Child,
I
please.
cannot get these records. Interesting there.
Okay. Again, I see why the culture.
So, by the way, I think this is in relation to two things.
Is
one, Kanye West showed up
always
last
in
week.
jail.
Was there for a short amount of time. Showed up. This came after there was testimony about
and anybody who
Jane,
believes that he is innocent is
gone to Vegas at one point and had been invited
PDF
there
file
from this
too.
Well-known rapper, wasn't identified in court, and that one of the things she observed was this unnamed rapper and others watching one of the alleged sex workers that Jane and Combs used having sex with this woman that he was with, this unnamed rapper was with his wife or his girlfriend, had asked her if she's part of a lifestyle, you know, maybe was trying to get a recommendation about a sex worker. So we get this question from IA. Hello, Jesse. Coming back to Kanye showing up, could it be helpful to the defense as it asked to reveal the name of the rapper Jane was speaking about, and was that intentional?
I don't think that it's relevant at all. I think that Kanye showing up to court, you know, the best example of a stunt king. It was all for publicity. You know, when I heard about it, when I read the testimony, it just sounded really maybe exciting. You know, my favorite word, salacious. But I don't think it's relevant to anything that's going on right now. Again, stunt, publicity.
Yeah, and by the way, he couldn't even get into the actual courtroom. He was in the overflow.
And he left, right?
And he left shortly thereafter. Right. In and out. By the way, they went to lunch, so we're going to work on getting Elizabeth Milner up as well. William, we are getting a lot of questions about Juror 6. For example, this is a question from Rita Connors. Hey, Jesse, can Juror 6 face any legal action?
There is no double jeopardy with Rico. Rico supersedes all of that.
There is an issue with another juror.
It's not double jeopardy.
They've sealed the information about
What do you
this.
mean?
Maybe we'll get some more information at the end of the day. But I guess the question is, William, can this other juror who was dismissed,
they've already showed the employees was the ring.
Actually echoes another question from my
the employees, the KK, the D-Rock,
get in trouble?
The assistants,
in trouble?
Brandon Paul.
I don't think so.
Let's organize
is it
a crime.
Possible? Sure. I mean, juror questionnaires and voir dires all
but
done
hey,
all the jurors.
Just about 90% of the attorneys see it. So Brandon, if you don't see it, that's because you slow. You slow, and you are a PDF file as well.
Would happen,
and you don't want to see
no,
it.
I don't think the jurors
even Boosie see it. He said they coming for us on the back end. Yeah, if you don't see it, I'm sorry. I don't suggest you commit these crimes, because you're not going to see it just like Diddy didn't see it, but you feel it when you in court.
Summary witness, and does having a summary witness mean that the prosecution is close to wrapping up? I mean, Aaliyah, yeah, they cross-examined the other summary witness. Does it give you an idea of why they're calling this witness towards this point in the trial?
I think that, of course, when you're calling summary witnesses, that their purpose is to summarize the evidence, so it does indicate to me that the prosecution is wrapping up.
No, all of those I named what?
Trial, but of course,
all of those are wrapped into the racketeering.
A witness for the prosecution or the defense can be cross-examined by
all of that's wrapped into the Rico.
The prosecution.
And then you got the Man's Act with the
question from Lopez. Question for Jesse. When do they expect
S3X workers. I mean, I don't know how you think you're gonna get away.
They go right back into trial.
I played last night how one of them said that Diddy paid him.
Thank you.
Cassie didn't pay him. The one that was in the hotel. So Brandon, just hush.
So 2 parts there. When do they expect this
So
trial?
hush.
And if a mistrial, do they go right
on my platform? Yes, that's exactly how it goes. So if you don't like the regulations, guess what you can do, Brandon Davis? Guess what you can do.
I don't know.
Ask me what. You can beat your MF feet. Okay? And leave.
I suspect that at least another 2
my platform, my rules.
If it is a mistrial, will they go back right into
yeah, but don't try to what word can I use that did it? You know, don't try to manipulate me. Don't try to force me. This is my rules, my platform. And if you don't like it, because you're not going to change my rules, you're not entitled to change my rules, but you are entitled to leave.
I do think that something that's missing is timelines, and maybe it's because I am reading the transcripts.
No, you don't have to say nothing else. If you don't like it, leave. But we're not going to go back and forth. I'm going to remove you. So, shh, little slow bus, put your helmet on and go sit in the corner and rock yourself.
Videotape. I want some specific timelines. I'm not getting that.
So they are listing some dates here and there. I mean, they are. Through my,
Hey,
I'm just quickly
naturally,
summarizing it, so I
Norland.
didn't put the actual dates, but there's messages from 2019, 2023. There's another one from I think 2021. So yeah, they are providing it, and we know that Jane is so significant because she had such a recent relationship with Sean Combs, 2021 to 2024. So we got an update. This is now the
Thank
jury's
you
been
for the
excused.
floating hearts.
The judge asked the prosecutor, "Shall we
Thank
address
you.
Mr. Brendan Paul now?" And the prosecutor says, "Better tomorrow morning." The judge says the special agent will be on all day, even into tomorrow. Then Mr. Paul, then a final summary witness. William, I got two questions for you.
So,
I don't know why
Brandon coming
Why
tomorrow.
aren't they calling Christina Courtroom? Why aren't they calling other expected witnesses that might tie in this whole racketeering conspiracy?
Because they don't
case?
want
We're learning
to,
so much about her from other testimony. We're hearing her messages. Why do you think they didn't call her? And number two, this is a question from, so that's my question, me as Jesse. But we have another question from another Jesse. So I'm giving you two Jesse questions, two different Jessies. The other Jesse asks, how will the jurors get paid? This is a long trial. People have bills. So whichever one you want to answer first.
Yeah, that
Let's
ain't
start
cool.
with KK. I am surprised that KK is not being called as a witness. I'm actually pretty shocked. And my gut feeling is that KK always had the ability to go both ways. Again, I think that KK was given immunity. I think that KK has some baggage of her own. I think that she certainly was implicated. I think that she's an unnamed co-conspirator. And I'm guessing that perhaps the prosecution, in doing a balancing of the equities, decided it was best not to call her. But I am surprised that we aren't going to hear from her, because I do think she has a lot of information to give, and perhaps the prosecution decided that by giving her, obviously she already has a free pass, she already has immunity, but by presenting that to the jurors, perhaps it would have been too much. As far as the jurors are getting paid, after a certain period of time, jurors can get paid in different places. Different states have different rules. The feds have different rules. So they do get paid by the government. It is not a lot of money. It is certainly not what these folks make in their daily lives, and it's a challenge and it's a burden. I mean, jury service is a burden for
Thank
anyone
you,
who does it.
David.
I actually think that jury service is very important, and I think regardless of the fact that people are getting paid less than they would make at their normal jobs, I think it's a privilege and a right, and I think our system only works because we do have normal everyday citizens who are willing to leave their everyday jobs and go sit as jurors. I have a lot of problems with the jury system, but I think it's fantastic. I think it's the best system that we've been able to come up with. So I do encourage folks to serve on juries as best they can. As a lawyer, I get questions all the time from friends. Well, how do I get out of jury duty?
See, when men say stuff like some man has scorned you, some man has hurt you, that's manipulating. That's the same stuff Diddy do. He would bring up what 50 did to Jane Doe. That is a male manipulation. Ain't nobody scoring me. I'm not mad at me. But I'm not stupid to them either. Okay, I asked you not to say nothing.
And a paralegal in our office. Prosecutor says we don't have any of those charts yet.
They charged him with it. You just don't like the charges, Brandon. You don't like the way they presented it. You are a type of person who still thinks that racketeering and Rico is only for the gangster mobs in the 20s and the 30s, the Italian. You slow like that. You think that it only is for certain people. The crimes that the charges that they hit him with are crimes that he committed. You don't like the words that they use to describe it, but that's what the law is there for. You are not a lawyer. It sounds like you are a PDF file, and you don't like the charges because you entertaining those activities. They absolutely charged him with the crimes that he committed. To sit back and enjoy the show or leave. I ain't gonna tell you that no more. I ain't telling you that no more. You do not have to say anything, Brandon. Sit back and just listen or leave. Because I don't want to entertain your slowness. Do you have your helmet on? Do you have your good ear? Well, I asked you to stop a long time ago, and you came back again. You, and what's so fascinating, if y'all don't act like y'all don't even remember that a man brought these charges up on Diddy. A man. A man. Not just females. A man. I don't care. Okay, bye, Brandon. I don't care what you are. I didn't ask you for your resume. Let's sit in the corner for 30 minutes and learn how to follow instructions. Over here, you're not entitled to break my rules. Now, I'm timing you out for 30 minutes. If that don't work for you, I'm going to remove you today, okay? I did not ask you for your resume. I don't care if you're an engineer. I don't care what you are. You feel entitled to break the rules. You feel entitled to name the laws and crimes the way you want to name them. It don't work like that. Anytime you pay for a service, S3X service, you breaking the law. Whether you okay with it, you agree with it, enjoyed it, whatever, you still breaking the law. And if you do it in more than one state, or if you come to a state or invite them to a different state, it's trafficking. Now, you may not look at it like that. You may look at it like it's just a getaway. But the minute you leave some money on the dresser, the minute you go shopping, you take them shopping for a good time, it's called trafficking, whether you like it or not. So do it and get caught and see what happens. If you have employees, set it up for you. Go and set the room up. Put the special, your favorite lights, all that shit. Add a little PILLS in the room. Bring your Tootsie Roll gel. It becomes an enterprise. Now, I'm sorry if you don't look at it like that. That's why a lot of people are locked up in jail right now. Okay?
We'll be providing the government with a supplemental response to Dr. Hughes' actual testimony. So obviously we knew they were going to...
And the entire country, if they get caught, going to jail. This is a warning. Now, if you want to do it, fine. That's your business. But it's still trafficking. It's still trafficking. You can call it what you want to call it, a money grab or not. He should have been mindful of the people that he interact with and putting himself in the position for somebody to feel like they're entitled to some of that money. He put his own self in that position for it to be a money grab. So what? He was paying men, not women, because he don't like women. He was paying men $4,000 and $5,000 to be able to look at their pallywhacker. Are you one of them pallywhacker pleasers? Terrence? David? Huh? Yeah, he ain't pay the women because he don't like women. He like men. Are you one of them? Yeah. Let's keep it real. He flipped the script. It's still paying for S3X. It is still against the law. Yeah. Y'all ain't said nothing about the men that got paid being a money grab. Y'all don't have nothing to say about the male hookers. Y'all don't have nothing negative to say about them. Just the women. Yeah, because y'all have issues with y'all mama. Yeah, and y'all really don't like women. Y'all just disguised it. Y'all in the closet. Bring your asses out, because I'm gonna call you out. Oh yeah, he was fine now. Now him being fine ain't no thing. That guy he shit. Yeah, they still hookers though. And he had a woman.
He was talking about the relationship.
Type of shit. Y'all on some real slow bus stuff. Y'all need to get off the bus.
Richard, thank you so much. If KK, Christina Courtroom, is named as a co-conspirator by the prosecution, how is D-Rock not also named as one? His name is incessantly brought up also.
And just for clarification to answer the question, D-Rock was the security guard that also was responsible for doing. I mean, I think it is
also responsible.
Inequities. I think that.
Did y'all hear that? That's also responsible.
Then name him as a co-conspirator after he's already given testimony.
As far as the jurors are getting paid, you know, after a certain period of time, jurors can get paid in different places. Different states have different rules. The feds have different rules. So they do get paid by the government. It is not a lot of money. It is certainly not what these folks make in their daily lives. And it's a challenge and it's a burden.
Hi, Mario.
Jury service is a burden for anyone who does it. I actually think that jury service is very important. And I think regardless of the fact that people are getting paid less than they would make at their normal jobs, I think it's a privilege and a right, and I think our system only works because we do have normal everyday citizens who are willing to leave their everyday jobs and go sit as jurors. I have a lot of problems with the jury system, but I think it's fantastic. I think it's
well, they job pay them. Why they tripping?
So I do encourage folks to serve on juries.
You get paid for jury duty. You still get paid for those days you missed the work from work. What are they talking about?
And my response is, you know, please don't. Please don't.
Wow. Okay, so first of all, great response. Thank you. And I'm not...
because I don't know who the defense is really going to call. And just if I can also kind of address the summary witness matter.
Why do these people act like they're slow, like they don't know that they get paid?
And maybe it's because I am.
Their job still pay them when they out on jury duty.
But I think that the summary witnesses need to give me timelines. For example, the bribery, not the bribery issue, excuse me, but the videotape issue where Jane said that he's going to show my child's father the videotape. I want some specific timelines. I'm not getting that.
So they are listing some dates.
They moving the timelines around on a lot of stuff.
I was quickly summarizing it, so I didn't put the actual dates, but there's
you right. Every dog
there's another one
will have their day.
So yeah, they are providing it, and we know that Jane is so significant because she had such a recent relationship with Sean Combs, 2021 to 2024. So we got an update. This is now the jury's been excused. The judge asked the prosecutor, "Shall we address Mr. Brendan Paul now?" And the prosecutor says, "Better tomorrow morning." The judge says, "The special agent will be on all day, even into tomorrow, then Mr. Paul, then a final summary witness." William, I got two questions for you. I don't know why aren't they calling Christina Courtroom? Why aren't they calling other expected witnesses that might tie in this whole racketeering conspiracy case? I mean, we're learning so much about her from other testimony. We're hearing her messages. Why do you think they didn't call her? And number two, this is a question so that's my question, me as Jesse. But we have another question from another Jesse. So I'm giving you two Jesse questions, two different Jessies. The other Jesse asks, how will the jurors get paid? This is a long trial, people have bills. So whichever one you want to answer first.
Well, let's start with KK. I am surprised that KK is not being called as a witness. I'm actually pretty shocked. And my gut feeling is that KK always had the ability to go both ways. Again, I think that KK was given immunity. I think that KK has some baggage of her own.
I thought it was a federal a labor law.
Unnamed co-conspirator, and I'm guessing that perhaps the prosecution, in doing a balancing of the equities, decided it was best not to call her.
Google it in your
but I am
state.
surprised that we aren't going to hear from her, because I do think she has a lot of information to give, and perhaps the prosecution decided that by giving her, she already has a free pass, she already has immunity, but by presenting that to the jurors, perhaps it would have been too much. As far as the jurors are getting paid, you know, after a certain period of time, you can get paid in different places. Different states have different rules. The feds have different rules. So they do get paid by the government. It is not a lot of money. It is certainly not what these folks make in their daily lives. And it's a challenge, and it's a burden. I mean, jury service is a burden for anyone who does it. I actually think that jury service is very important. I think regardless of the fact that people are getting paid less than they would make at their normal job, I think it's a privilege and a right, and I think our system only works because we do have normal, everyday citizens who are willing to leave their everyday jobs and go sit as jurors. I have a lot of problems with the jury system, but I think it's fantastic. I think it's the best system that we've been able to come up with. So I do encourage folks to serve on juries as best they can. You know, as a lawyer, I get questions all the time from friends. Well, how do I get out of jury duty? And my response is, you know, please don't. Please don't.
Wow. Okay, so first of all, great response. And I'm not just, it's a great response, but I'm a little distracted from the court update. Judge asks, what witnesses would the defense be putting up on Friday? Okay, here we go. Mark Agnifilo, Sean Combs' defense counsel, says 3 witnesses: Vashta Wilson, Stephen Lynn, we don't really know the last name exactly, and a paralegal in our office. Prosecutor says, we don't have any of those charts yet. Judge says, in terms of a defense expert, I'd like the Daubert issues teed up. And the prosecutor says, we'll work on it. Sean Combs' attorney, Ms. Shapiro, says, we'll be providing the government with a supplemental response to Dr. Hughes' actual testimony. So obviously we knew they were going to rebut that testimony of Dr. Dawn Hughes talking about the relationship between an abuser and a victim. Put that on pause. Aaliyah, we do have a super chat question. Another one from Richard S.E.All. Richard, thank you so much. If KK, Christina Quorum, is named as a co-conspirator by the prosecution, how is D-Rock not also named as one? His name is incessantly brought up.
Only way he can't be forgiven if he blasphemed against the Holy Spirit.
Also is responsible for doing. I mean,
that is the only sin that is unforgivable.
I think that
per the
at
Bible.
this point, D-Rock has already testified. I think
blasphemy against the Holy Spirit.
After he's already given testimony and arguably some sort of immunity would probably be, you know, not advantageous to the prosecution. I think that they should have been named as a co-conspirator. That might have been more reason to actually be.
You can repent up until you leave this earth.
Garner herself an own deal to protect herself from
even
jail,
the
right? But
come on now. Oh please,
earlier,
oh my goodness,
she
come
has
on,
had a
yeah,
very,
we're going
very long
too far.
relationship with
Let me say this.
Diddy or Love, however you
Let me
refer
just
to.
say this. The Bible does not speak about a time frame to repent. It does not say that you cannot repent while you listen. There was 2 thieves on the cross. One was a believer, one was not. Right? They were thieves. They were being punished for their crimes. God saved the believer on the cross. In the midst of a trial, in the midst of his punishment, before he succumbed to hanging on the cross, he was forgiven of his transgressions. I don't know what a snake do. I'm just saying that you can repent even while you're being punished for your sins. And the example I give you is the 2 thieves on the cross. One was a believer, one was not. Now, will a non-believing snake repent? Probably not. Not if he don't believe. The point is, you can be forgiven of your sins while you're being punished for your sins. That's all I'm saying. So you can. So do your research on the two thieves on the cross. They didn't get away with their bad deeds. They was just forgiven of them, because he said, as of this day. Yeah. I'm telling whoever listening, I don't care about none of that. I'm gonna tell the truth. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the facts out there. I ain't trying to win over no race of people. That's not what I'm about.
Nowadays. And I think that there's no way to determine how much of her testimony would be influenced by him. We know that he's still paying.
Yes, I do, David.
I think Jane Doe 2 or Jane Doe 1's rent from jail. So we know that he still has enough funds to still have some sort of influence. So I think it wouldn't be a hard argument to make that she's being influenced by Combs even now.
AunTeaFee, just going back to these witnesses. So Vashta Wilson, I did a quick LinkedIn search, says Vice President of Operations Bad Boy Entertainment. There's another article talking about that Vashta Wilson might head up human resources. Don't know who Stephen Lynn something is, and then the paralegal in the defense attorney's office. Any thoughts?
So Vashta Wilson, I'm thinking if she's dealing with human resources, that may go to rebutting the forced labor issue, because I definitely think they have him. They've proven the prostitution issues, but there's a forced labor that I think the prosecution has done a really fantastic job of establishing. And, I'll never forget the statement. Oh my God, I've forgotten it. But to get tired is to be fired. We're working 20-hour days.
David James, I think, testified to that. I think it was David James.
They definitely need her to maybe rebut those issues. But also, there's a Robin who's come up twice, and Robin is the accountant. Robin is she knows where the bodies are buried. So I'm wondering why she hasn't been called, or why we haven't seen just more evidence and more discussion about this Robin person.
By the way, AunTeaFee, do you think the jury will say, why wasn't this person called? Why wasn't this person called? Do you think that's going to come up in deliberations?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You need to give the jury what they want to see, what they hear, and what they're used to. And what are they used to? They're used to law and order, or LA law, or whatever you grew up with in your generation, the practice, Bobby Donald. That's what you need to feed them just a little bit of. So they're going to be wondering these things. So yeah.
You will be judged by what's in your heart.
Hess, all the way from Iran. How close are prosecutors to securing a lifetime conviction for Diddy? I mean, it's the central question here.
Again, I think the prosecution has done a really good job here. I think that they have hit all the elements for these.
Oh, can you say that again, attorney? Can you say that again? Can you say that again? So y'all hear this with your good ear. Can you hear this with your good ear? They have hit all the aspects of the charges.
Big one. This is from SL 600. How is the jury integrity maintained without them being sequestered? I mean, there's a question where are they doing their own research? Just got to hope for the best.
Who are you talking to, David?
Yes, I think that, as we all know, after every court day, the judge tells you, don't talk about the case, don't look up any information about the case, don't research the case, don't do anything besides go home, go to sleep, and then come back the next day. I think it's always very difficult when you have a very high publicity trial like this one, because you could be driving home on the radio and they're summarizing what was in court, right? I think the idea is, as you said earlier, jurors are under oath. They have sworn to take all the evidence and render a decision. So one would hope
I do
that
not want to
would,
have church up in here. Oh my
and
God.
not, research any information, not look up, but curiosity
Oh my
will be
God.
kept. So do we know 100% for certain whether or not they're doing that? No, but I think we have to trust and rely that they take
I
their job
agree with the
seriously,
last
their
one you
upholding
just
oath they
said.
took when they became jurors.
Oh
William,
my
we've got another question
God.
that came in that's come up a lot during the course of this 6 weeks so far. 6 weeks. This is from Danny. Why are some...
Yeah, are we finna have church up in here? Okay, this is gonna be my last one. You talking about judging. No one can judge your salvation but God. God expects for us to make sound judgments in order for us to live a God-filled life. Let me put it like that. The Bible teaches us that you can judge. Okay, what word did I just say? You can judge. Let me say it for the ones in the back. You can judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. Okay, what did it say? It says you can judge. So you have to look at the tree, the person, and make a sound decision by examining how they act, how they walk, how they talk, in order to know if you need to eat the fruit from that tree. So the Bible says you can judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. It also says no good tree bears bad fruit. And no bad fruit comes from a good tree. Now, when we talk about salvation, can't nobody put you in heaven. No one can put you in hell. God judges your heart. But as far as us, we the people, we can judge a tree so you can make sound decisions. By examining the character and the heart of people. Only to say, only for us to avoid if the fruit is bad. And the fruit is the fruit of the Spirit. Are they bearing good fruit? That we can judge.
Some non-witnesses called by
now,
name.
I'm not going to have church.
But when and we talked about it before, the icon rapper was mentioned, his name
right.
was not used in open court.
Armor of God. You can judge, but God makes the judgment.
So, I mean, obviously we know
you can judge a tree.
Jane and Mia.
You can judge the character.
Leave from the court to testify and to be in court under some sort of synonym, or sorry, some sort of anonymous statement.
Well, that's in the Bible, so you can say what you want to say.
Victims of domestic violence, victims of sexual assault often are granted that in certain circumstances. As far as why the unnamed rapper goes, I'm not sure what led to that. I mean, I think we've all been talking about who we think it is, but I'm not exactly sure what decisions led to that person not being named. I'm not sure it's really relevant, and I think that it's probably damaging enough to that person's personal integrity, damaging enough to them personally that they decided that they weren't going to throw names out there. That's my guess. It's a good guess, but it's just a guess nonetheless.
Yeah, I wonder if it would distract from the issues in this case. Is it necessary? Would it unfairly, embarrass them? These private details, when I think the point being made, her having with him, I think it goes to the idea for the defense. First of all, it might have been taboo what Sean Combs was doing, but was it a crime? You got somebody else that was interested. Also, her communications with this rapper was a source of, it seemed to be contention, source of issues with her and Sean Combs. So I think the point was made without even having to really expand upon who that person is. Okay, Afi, Lisa5472 asks, Jesse, can they call Christina Coram after the defense rests if she wasn't called by them? Let me just tweak that. Let me ask you this. Do you think the defense will call Christina Coram, or will they call her as a rebuttal witness, the prosecution? What do you think?
So I have the same question. Why is she not being called by the prosecution in the first place? My thought was maybe she'll plead the fifth and we can get enough information, or they can get enough information from her via these text messages that are
y'all please hit the like button. I need 19 likes. I need support to the platform.
I don't know that the defense would call her. I don't think they should. I think it would expose them to too much, because just like I believe this accountant Robin knows where the bodies are buried, Christina Quorum definitely knows where the bodies are buried.
I'm not for that church.
An unindicted co-conspirator during this trial. I think she knows too much, and it would expose.
You know I ain't wrapped too tight, David.
And the prosecution her rebuttal.
I'm not gonna have church.
I don't think they need to. I think they're getting just enough that they're getting the material.
But at least you know it's in me. See how that go? See how that go? You judge the tree. You know it's in me. Ain't that what you just said? Oh, so I see you have. Oh, okay. You know. Oh, okay. You make that judgment. That's all I'm saying. You judged me, David. You judge me. You saw. Oh, okay. There is some substance for real.
Yeah, we and it's interesting.
That's all right.
Witnesses who are going to see right? So we have 2 that have been called today. We got a question from Tony Tokes. Is Brendan testifying today this week? Probably not today, but it seems like after.
You know what, David? Hold on with that. See what you're making me do. I don't like the. You said, just remember, everyone wants a second chance once they realize they have made many mistakes. Now, see, that's true. I get that. But I don't know that Diddy realizes that he's made these mistakes. I think he still thinks that he can pay his way out of, manipulate his way out. So his ways are still there. He's still in denial, still feel entitled, still thinks that his narcissistic ways have not all fully been exposed. You know, so I don't know. I'm not trying to validate if he's sincere, but his actions still reflects that he's entitled. He wants special privileges, you know, and still have stunts in there, still tries to manipulate, still want to be pretty. I'm Diddy, I'm the Kings. He still have those mannerisms. No, that's still judging the tree. Judging his salvation, we're judging his tree. I'm judging his character. Yeah, I'm judging the fruit of the Spirit. And what are the fruits of the Spirit? See, that's what we can judge. We can judge the fruit of the Spirit. He don't even want to face one of them, and one of them is a long suffering. He don't want to suffer nothing. He don't want to feel what he has administered. Then there's a whole bunch of joy, love, peace, honesty, trust. He don't have no trust. Man, I'm not going to do this with you.
This week, and then you're going to have
go look up the fruit of the spirits.
Have an update in court. Judge asks, what witnesses...
You know who I've been around, Razor? You don't know who I've been around. You don't know me.
Defense counsel says
you better go.
Special agent has no personal knowledge.
You better stop coming in. First of all, you come in and speak. Don't make not one comment when I come in to speak. I don't know who you think you are.
It's just hotel records.
So go out and come back in the right way.
Summary witnesses and what the purpose of them are. Do you think this is a fair objection by the defense?
Try that again.
I think it is fair.
Razor sharp.
Overruled because of the simple fact that the evidence.
Don't tell me who or what I know. You don't know me.
Witness, yes, and they're a special agent. There is some knowledge. It's a very broad determination as to what knowledge is. I'm sure this agent has reviewed the records. I'm sure they've reviewed them consistently and repeatedly. So I do think that they might have enough knowledge to testify to them. Now we don't have the argument that they don't have personal.
It's my opinion. You absolutely right. My opinion on my platform. Now what?
If you didn't, then why are we objecting to this special agent specifically?
Let me throw another, not even a question, get your reaction.
But you're not going to tell me who and what I know.
The testimony of these summary witnesses are more effective than the victim's testimony. 38% say it's unclear.
Razor, go somewhere else. I am not going to protect a predator. I am not going to protect nobody that has a PDF file ways and mentality. I am never. So this ain't where you need to be. I'm never going to co-sign someone who forces people, manipulate people. No, absolutely not. Okay, so go somewhere else. This is my courtroom. And if you don't like it, again, leave. Take your razor point on somewhere else. My platform, my rules, my guidelines. You don't like it, leave. Okay, you don't have to say nothing else to me, and I won't say nothing else to you. Poof, be gone. Okay, well, don't argue with me then. If you know that that's my stance, and then but you came in telling me who I know and who I don't know, and you don't know who I know. You don't know that. You don't know what I know. But if you've been around long enough, you know I've been right about a lot of it. Not just on Diddy. Shit. Oh, okay.
31% say yes and 29% say no. It's interesting because I was always wondering if the jurors sitting back for these last few weeks trying to all the dots, they may be lost. They may be like, how does this relate to this? How does this relate to this? What's racketeering again? These messages, right, might be, and they're selective, right? These summary witnesses are being asked. It might be more of a clear-cut example of what the prosecution is trying to show here, right? You think? I mean, I can kind of understand that, Paul.
I think so, yes. I also think that, there's always that percentage of individuals that, the victims is more of an emotional pull versus, actual evidence being.
Bonnie Hitler, are you a male? Or are you a female? Respectfully. Because it blows my mind that some of y'all have this distaste for the females who got paid. What about the XXX workers who got paid? The males. Why are they not a problem? Why are they not a money grab? Y'all never mentioned anything about the people who actually went there to get paid. Y'all are lovers of men. And you have a strong distaste for women. Because there were men, not just Cassie. What about the workers that got paid? Y'all need to check y'all closet, man. I'm telling you.
Presented, even though we know that the witness testimony is evidence, we also know that sometimes, if you go back to them, the defense counsel wanting Cassie Ventura to be seated when she was testifying already when the jury came in because they didn't want any type of bias to the fact that she was pregnant. They didn't want the jury to see that, right? There's always that emotional component that you try to have be avoided when you're as a defense counsel, right? We don't want the jury to see that. But I also think that when you have summary witnesses, they present the facts, right? They can also tie in the witness testimony, but also present all the other evidence outside of the actual victims to put together.
Relate to this? How does this relate to this? What's racketeering again? These messages, right, might be, and they're selective, right? These summary witnesses are being asked. It might be more of a clear-cut example of what the prosecution is trying to show here, right? You think? I mean, I can kind of understand that, Paul.
I think so, yes. I also think that there's always that percentage of individuals that, the victims is more of an emotional pull versus, actual evidence being presented, even though we know that the witness testimony is evidence. We also know that sometimes, if you go back to them, the defense counsel wanting Cassie Ventura to be seated when she was testifying already when the jury came in because they didn't want any type of bias to the fact that she was pregnant. They didn't want the jury to see that, right? There's always that emotional component that you try to have be avoided when you're as a defense counsel, right? We don't want the jury to see that. But I also think that when you have summary witnesses, they present the facts, right? They can also tie in the witness testimony, but also present all the other evidence outside of actual victims to put together the case, and that's helpful. And like you said before, when there's a trial that's been going on now for 6 weeks.
Yep. Okay, William, got a question from Mercedes Gummy. Aside from witness statements and text messages, what irrefutable evidence is there in summary for the prosecution besides the hotel video?
Sure. There's flight records. There are bank records. There are hotel receipts.
Y'all hear the evidence, y'all?
I mean, again, the summary witnesses aren't flashy. I mean, that's not exciting, riveting.
Do y'all hear that? They have those. They have the receipts,
case,
baby.
There usually is a drug analyst who testifies that yes, these are the things I did, and it's cocaine. It's crucial. It's important because someone needs to connect the dots. It's not particularly exciting, but it is necessary. So yeah, there is irrefutable evidence in terms of documents, and I think that's what the summary witnesses are providing.
Afi, question from Lily Gazarian. Hi, Jesse. Do you think the defense will call the mother of his kids?
No, I don't know why. I don't know what the relevance would be. And he's got a few, but I don't know. You know, they haven't really been brought up during the trial, so I don't know what they can offer to refute anything that's been raised. And they certainly won't be talking about his character because, again, the defense, their argument is he's done some bad things. We know that. You know, that's kind of irrefutable. So I don't know what the mothers of the children could be called to say other than he's a good guy and he's a father. You know, it's not really relevant. So no.
Got an update from court. Prosecutor Comey asks or says, Mr. Combs and Jules Theodore were discussing being in the same place at the same time. If this objection is sustained, we'll just have the special agent read in every text message. The judge says the witness has no personal knowledge. She put together the chart. So it becomes a question about what she can testify to or not. Okay. Ready for a question for everybody here? I'll start with you, Leon. Here we go. This is from Rappers Trials. With the evidence, would Diddy get convicted so far?
I think so. Yes,
Okay.
I do think so.
What do you think he'll get convicted of?
I think that at minimum we have the RICO charge. I think
Minimum RICO charge?
Yes, I think we have the RICO charge. I think we have conspiracy. I do think there's enough for the RICO charge, and I also think there's enough for the actual prostitution portion of the sex trafficking.
Yep.
I think the sex trafficking, as we said before, we have receipts, payments, we have sex workers that have testified.
Well, that's the prostitution transportation to gauge your prostitution. You think they have sex trafficking, forceful coercion, for both Jane and Cassie?
I don't know for Jane. I think for Cassie, yes. And
Okay.
the reason I think for Cassie, yes, is because there has been she's testified to at least 2 or 3 times that she tried to get away from him, and then she was brought back either involuntarily or voluntarily. Right? We've had the Kid Cudi testimony of her trying to date someone else and him blowing up the car. We have her mother mortgaging their home because he threatened to release the sex tapes and having to pay him $20,000. I think she's a star witness, right? I think her alone might be enough. I think that the problem is the second testimony of Jane 1 kind of murkies the waters for that, but I don't know that that's going to kind of dispute the testimony from Cassie Ventura specifically.
Afi, we got multiple charges here. We got racketeering, conspiracy, transportation to engage in prostitution. There are 2 charges there, and 2 charges of sex trafficking by force or coercion. You think there's enough to get that he would be convicted if the jury went to deliberate today?
Absolutely. I definitely think there's enough with just the racketeering charge. I think there's enough with respect to Cassie's matter. I don't think, I think it's count 4, whatever happened with Jane Doe in 2021 through 2024. I don't think that there's enough. I think, if anything, what her testimony did was shine a light, if I can say, on Cassie's matter, and it bolstered Cassie's situation, because we know with Jane, she was not beaten and abused. She was 35, I believe, whereas Cassie was 19 when this happened. And there are just so many stark differences and with respect psychologically, I think, to Jane's matter and the autonomy and agency that Jane had that Cassie didn't have. So I think that it just bolsters Cassie's testimony and all of the surrounding circumstances and the witnesses that testified toward Cassie's matter. So I definitely think that they've proven enough, especially with respect to the conspiracy, because I didn't know where they were going to go with proving the conspiracy, but we have enough evidence with respect to KK's knowledge of the King nights, the Gucci bag nights, going to the hotel to prepare, knowledge of what's going on during, knowledge of scheduling the prostitutes to come into town and pay them. We just have enough Again, I don't think there's enough with respect to Jane's matter, but so far on the basic elements, yeah, you got enough.
All right. I mean, again, for racketeering conspiracy, you have this like criminal agreement, a common association, common purpose, method and mean. They have to prove at least 2 underlying crimes, right? So forced labor, kidnapping, sex trafficking. There's a prostitution angle. There's drug offenses. And so, you know, they've presented a lot. They've presented a lot. But now I go to William. William, you think that there is enough at this point that they could convict him of something?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, you know, the prosecution has laid out all these charges really well. I suppose the Jane question is still a live one. But, you know, if I were the prosecution, it was not guilty on that 1 count, but guilty on the other 4, I'd consider that a win. But I think that I think they're there. I think they're there. And I think there's a chance that, you know, if the jury's hung up on anything, it's anything involving Jane. But I think other than that, it's a clear-cut guilty across the board.
Maybe. I think the transportation to engage in prostitution feels like the most straightforward path. You know, the defense could say, well, you know, he really didn't know what he was. It's tough to even argue this, but basically, he's paying for their time and experience and not prostitution per se. How much was he involved in actually paying for things himself or transporting things himself? But that's why today these summary witnesses are so important in the messages. You know, I still think Rico is 75% there. Yes, I think there's evidence for underlying crimes, but, you know, this idea of everybody on the same page, there was a conspiracy. Was it just to protect him, benefit the businesses? You know, I could see it. I could see them checking it. I think when it comes to sex trafficking for Jane, it's more of an open, it's kind of a question mark. They do, I think, have some more concrete examples for sex trafficking of Cassie. But it's difficult to know. It's difficult to know what the jury thinks at this point. And again, we haven't even seen the defense's case. Aaliyah, got a question here. I think it's Kiara, so I apologize. It's either Ciara or Kiara Salmon. Do you think the defense would have handled Diddy's case differently if he had not released the apology video? So the video where he apologizes after CNN had published the video of him beating Cassandra Ventura. Thanks,
for the
Jesse,
ones who
and
say
pro
he's
panel,
not guilty of
Kiara
nothing.
from Ireland.
What do you apologize for?
I don't think so. I think that the video, if anything, kind of is what you expect from someone who is this large, arguably a mogul to a lot of people prior to, you know, a lot of these charges coming out. I think that the concrete evidence as far as him paying for that video, right? Because this is not the first time.
Bribery. I thought he didn't do nothing
This is the first time that we've seen that video. We've heard about this video for years. We've heard about, there's been rumblings about the domestic violence with Cassie specifically for years, and it's just now coming out in this trial from an evidence standpoint. But I think that
he bribed somebody. I thought he didn't do nothing wrong.
It's been knowledge for some time now, right? So, sorry, go ahead.
No.
It's been knowledge for some time now. So I think that, you know, I don't think they would have handled it differently. I think the video is just, you can't argue, oh, that was my guilt. That was me trying to save face for covering the fact that I'm losing money, I'm losing businesses, I'm losing clients. I'm trying to protect myself from that standpoint.
Well, I mean, they did try to make a pretrial argument about, you know, was the video manipulated? Was it altered? Does it purport to show? One of the arguments that was presented, I think, by the prosecution was he basically admitted it was him. What are we talking about here? So that one kind of, he painted himself in a corner, but his apology video was a small part of this case. The actual video itself, the 2016 video, is a huge part.
But I'm talking about for the people who say he ain't do nothing wrong.
We're getting Elizabeth Milner up, so if you have any questions for Elizabeth about what she observed in court today, shoot them over. We'll make sure to answer.
You wasn't seeing it because you see the beards. You see the girls. So you didn't look at them the way it actually is to a degree.
You and Puff haven't liked each other business-wise for a long time.
Well, that's why it's only business. If it's really away from that, I explained why I didn't hang out with him, right? Because fluffy stuff.
It's not your scene.
It's not my stuff. Not your scene. They hug you from the front and the back at the same time.
It's not your thing.
It's not my thing, bro.
What was the original annoyance between? It was just like.
Well, when you start to get the momentum, it's like.
I need 20 likes, y'all. Come on.
I got uncomfortable with him because the way he was asking to try and get me to hang out with him was like, yo, I take you shopping. Like, and I'm like, what you mean? Like, that's something you say to a woman you're attracted to, maybe.
Right. At Chris Knighty's wedding, he told me he'd take me shopping. I looked at him like, what the
what you just say? It's just weird, bro. Like, and now you start to see a lot of the weird stuff that was there. It looks like it all lines up, don't it? It was not in the closet. It was in front of you, and you wasn't seeing it because you see the beards. You see the girls. So you didn't look at them the way it actually is to a degree.
You and Puff haven't liked each other business-wise for a long time.
But that's why.
I'm talking about for the people who say he ain't do nothing wrong.
We're getting Elizabeth Milner up, so if you have any questions for Elizabeth about what she observed in
For those of us with service animals, preparation is key.
Anaya Sankar testifies against Diddy, and she is one of 3 summary witnesses who are testifying against Diddy, and they are showing exhibits laying out the case for the jury.
Can y'all hear her?
Stand, and she says that she is a paralegal specialist in the United States Attorney's Office. What work did you do on this case? 2 summary charts. I was asked to verify the accuracy of. Can you describe the document?
Hide everyone that comes in.
Hundreds of pages.
Grab
Who's in the message in this chart? Christina Korn. And whose cell phone number is this? Brendan Paul. How did Miss Christina Korn respond to Mr. Lopez about seeing the S3X?
Can y'all hear her?
4 laughing emojis. How long is he going to stay awake? In this exhibit from January 30th of 2023, it's an audio file. Yes. Then they play the first minute and 10 seconds, and you hear a female voice saying 2 things were weird. The only person who knows was you. Someone found an iPad? Yes. What did Christina Korn say in this? She says he's going to the 4 Seasons and wants you to bring Gatorade and chicken noodle soup. Can you read these? I'll be Dave Shirley. Dave Shirley said, Rock riding with him? And KK responds, no to Rock. KK then says, can you run $4,000 of cash from Rock to the hotel? And Dave Shirley said, sure. KK responds, heads up, he's about to do a Wild King night tonight. Dave Shirley responds, forgot to pick up the money. Just give it to Fahim just in case. What did the hotel write to Christina Korn? That the hotel called and Paul is coming up. Does Paul appear elsewhere in the chart? Yes. Please read these next exhibits between Jane and Christina Korn. KK said, ask them if they can bring up 15 bath towels. Jane said, he always brings between 5 and 10K. They're expecting people to leave the presidential suite at 1 p.m. KK responded, we're taking off. Sean Combs and Christina Korn replied, they said that Guido hasn't dropped off the package yet. What did Christina Korn write to Sean Combs? She writes, Guido outside. Combs replies with an audio message, and they play the audio message, and Diddy is sounding hoarse, and he says, about Guido, take care of it, please. What does Christina Korn respond? Done. Some of these messages in these exhibits involve Cassie Ventura? Yes. Page 5, May 2nd of 2017. What are these? These are texts between Cassie Ventura and Christina Korn. Cassie Ventura says, WTF. Christina Korn says, are you okay? Cassie Ventura then responds, no one deserves to be dragged by their hair. And these next messages, April 20th of 2018, Cassie says, I just can't anymore. KK says, I'm here for you with a heart emoji. Cassie says, I'm bummed, but don't want to derail. And then KK responds, definitely don't derail. It's not worth it. Let's turn to these messages with Jane. You read Jane. Jane said, we got into a fight. I'm not doing a hotel night. I'll bring him cake. What is the date of this filing? November 16th of 2023. And what are these? Audio files from November 19th of 2023. They play the audio and it's Diddy's voice saying, we can't really talk on this phone. You know what I'm saying? I called. I reached out. You know what I'm saying? My love is definitely true. Just some kinky shit that I thought we definitely enjoyed. Jane responds, I don't know, and her voice cracks. It's like word for word. It's like crazy to me. It feels sick. And then Diddy responds, but like you know, and then they shut off the audio. The government says, play the next one. And Diddy says, I really need your friendship right now. Don't send no texts. Diddy then says, I just needed to tell you I need your friendship. Baby, I got to meet my moms. You know what I'm saying? Please pray for me. And Jane responded, okay. The government says 3 days later, what are these? KK writes, We all know you're kryptonite. Diddy responded saying, please make sure Robin makes sure that her rent is paid. KK then replies, Robin said her rent was paid. What is this? An image found on Christina Korm's phone from December 28th of 2023. I'm not doing a hotel night. I'll bring him cake. What is the date of this filing? November 16th of 2023. And what are these? Audio files from November 19th of 2023. They play the audio and it's Diddy's voice saying, we can't really talk on this phone. You know what I'm saying? I called. I reached out. You know what I'm saying? My love is definitely true. Just some kinky shit that I thought we definitely enjoyed. Jane responds, I don't know, and her voice cracks. It's like word for word. It's like crazy to me. It feels sick. And then Diddy responds, but like you know, and then they shut off the audio. The government says, play the next one. And Diddy says, I really need your friendship right now. Don't send no text. Diddy then says, I just needed to tell you I need your friendship. Baby, I got to meet my moms. You know what I'm saying? Please pray for me. And Jane responded, okay. The government says 3 days later, what are these? KK writes, we all know you're kryptonite. Diddy responded saying, please make sure Robin makes sure that her rent is paid. KK then replies, Robin said her rent was paid. What is this? An image found on Christina Korm's phone from December 28th of 2023. A photo of a cell phone screen. It says, I lost work opportunities. Jane said, you broke me. You asked me what I needed to move on, and now you're upset. Who are these between? These are between Jane and KK. Jane said to KK, he said he would send my tapes to my baby daddy. I'm traumatized. He asked me who I'm seeing over and over again. On them, I'm on substances. I'm beyond hurt by him. What does Christina Korm say? I haven't spoken with him. These photos of a cell phone. Can you read them? Jane said, you effed everything up. You win. What are these? These are videos found on KK's device. Please play it. A woman's voice says, like $1,000. What's in this photo? Like
Thank
a
you,
long
Mistrial.
manicured nail. What did KK write here? They're just chilling at his house. Out to the shop, like King Night mode. Or Gucci bag mode. LOL. What does this exhibit show? It's messages from Sean Combs and Damon Butler, aka D-Rock and Mia. Please read D-Rock's messages. D-Rock said, love you, man. If you need a friend, I'm here. Diddy responds, I'll call you back. Talking to the kids. D-Rock then says to Mia, where are you? Mia responds, Virginia Beach. And then D-Rock texts her phone number to Sean Combs. Did you have any other involvement in this case? No. No further questions. And then it gets sent for cross-examination to Diddy's team. This message from Damon Butler to Sean Combs. Let's pull up this exhibit. Please read Nat Moore. Nat Moore said, the article could have been worse. They are calling it a breakup fight. Let's read some of these messages not included in the chart. Jane writes, I can be dropped off at my building's front desk. And KK writes, he speaks directly with PD. I don't deal with him, LOL, right? Right. Jane writes to KK, pulling up to the airport, smiley face. I'm excited to surprise him. And Diddy's lawyer asks, November 22nd of 2023. These are texts between Jane and KK, right? Yes. Jane said, I'm not doing any more hard partying. Then this one about the 3 years of wasted time. This exhibit here is KK to Mr. Perez, asking how does he look. And Mr. Perez replies, shockingly good. Better than before, right? Yes. Nothing further. And this is the end of her full testimony, and we have the next summary witness already on the stand, so
Perfect timing.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So we have with us Long Crime's in-court reporter, Elizabeth Milner, who's been there every day of this currently 6-week trial of the Sean Diddy Combs federal court case. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's great to see you. We have so many questions coming in. Aside from the fact that Marion DN, who says, meanwhile in London, not me delaying the family dinner to see Elizabeth come on. So you have a lot of people who are waiting to hear you. Let me ask you this. We got a question that came in from Allison Jones. Question for Elizabeth. Which team looks more worried? The defense
You think who
or the
is
prosecution?
The defense.
Was that which team looks more ready? Is that what the question
Worried,
was?
worried.
Worried. Oh, okay, that's a good question. Yeah, I think it kind of goes a little bit of both ways because obviously we're kind of on the heels of what is about to be the defense case, right? And so I think they're kind of collecting everything, making sure all their ducks are in a row. But also with the government's case, I'm wondering, from the most part, from what we're understanding, it seems like the next big witness per se is going to be Brendan Paul. So as Brendan Paul's going to be one of the final witnesses, I'm wondering, do they have kind of something up their sleeves? Is there going to be kind of this big shocker moment with his testimony? Because outside of him testifying this week, we're really just hearing a lot from summary witnesses at this point. And so I'm wondering at this point also who might be a little bit more worried, but I think with the dismissal of the juror that happened this morning, it seemed like the defense might be a teensy, and I say that very, very lightly, might be a teensy bit worried. They seemed a little upset that the juror was dismissed.
Can we talk about this? Talk to us about what happened with the juror today that was dismissed, and also apparently there's an issue with another juror too. What's going on?
Yeah, so I think a lot of us wanted to know what was going to be happening.
Michelle, no federal trial is
leaning towards dismissing the juror, but
is
then
televised.
Xavier Donaldson, he got up, he kind of made this really impassioned speech about why this particular juror should stay on, and a lot of it had to do with race and diversity on the jury, and if that juror were to be dismissed, what kind of message would that send to other potential jurors too? And so, you know, the judge weighed both decisions really, and took the weekend to kind of think things over. So we learned about what his ultimate ruling was going to be first thing. And so he really kind of took into account what the defense had. And they released a filing over the weekend that I think was about 15 pages long of all the reasons why this particular juror shouldn't be dismissed. Also kind of throwing a little bit of light shade here and there to the prosecution. And so the judge took that all in, and he said this morning, you know, I understand its importance, but this amount of scrutiny isn't necessarily necessary.
Yeah, our Kelly's wasn't.
The inconsistencies from the juror raised a lot of these issues as far as why he was.
It was cartooned as well.
The judge said he went back, he looked at the record closely from voir dire, also to what the discussions were around the roving room, because remember everybody, a lot of these inconsistencies really kind of had to do with this particular juror and whether or not he really revealed where he was truly living, whether or not it was in Jersey or in the Bronx. And so the judge went back, said everything, and said that he had serious concerns about the candor and how the jury, this particular juror, might have skewed his answers to stay on the jury. And so he said this might be threatening the integrity of the jury process. And so the defense did bring up in their arguments that replacing this juror with a white juror might send the wrong message. And they were even trying to argue that this should be grounds for a mistrial. And then the judge was kind of like, I don't think there are grounds for a mistrial here. What we're ultimately going to do is just dismiss the juror.
There's no way around it, Michelle.
That's possibly being talked about right now. We don't know the full extent of what that is. We believe that possibly it might have had to do with what happened on Friday when the judge released all of us out of the courtroom, closed the doors, locked the doors to really kind of discuss what we
Federal is not more lax. Federal is more serious.
But it turns out it might have to do with whatever happened to this other juror. So as far as I could tell, really only one juror was dismissed, and we kind of saw like a little shift in the change of the jury box for everyone, beginning, I think it was from the second row.
Did Michelle, did you follow the Tyree Nichols case that was with the officers in Memphis? Did you follow the state and the federal? The state prosecuted them. I mean, the feds prosecuted them and the state didn't. Did you follow that? The state just wrapped up right before this one. The state found them not guilty on all charges with the Tyree Nichols, but the federal found them guilty on majority of them. Did you follow that? Oh, okay.
Row, kind of trickling into the first row, just moved down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you don't follow cases well. Okay, that's fine.
And everything like that.
Because that just happened worldwide. Tyree Nichols
information about what this possible
beaten
might be, and so
by 4 or 5 cops in Memphis.
Speaking of the jurors, we had a question that just came in from 1989. A question for Elizabeth. Do the jurors look like they've heard enough?
The feds found them all not guilty.
I mean,
I mean, the feds found them guilty on most of the charges, and the state found them not guilty.
I'm wondering, did they hear enough, or are they kind of feeling like everything is
now the feds don't want to
that question
sentence
definitely
them.
goes through my mind a little bit, especially since we're doing a lot of summary charts, summary witnesses, where it's just a lot of charts and a lot of text messages, that type of thing. But they still have to be in it because we still have the defense's case to get through. So from what I've seen today, even with this juror now dismissed, that I have seen them still being attentive, still taking their notes. But I'm
Elizabeth
kind of wondering
is nice.
too, like how.
We had a question that just came in from 1989. A question for Elizabeth. Do the jurors look like they've heard enough?
I mean, it's a lot of testimony that they've been hearing and listening to for weeks on end. I'm wondering, did they hear enough? Or are they kind of feeling like everything is feeling just a little bit repetitive? That question definitely goes through my mind a little bit, especially since we're doing a lot of summary charts, summary witnesses, where it's just a lot of charts and a lot of text messages, that type of thing. But they still have to be in it because we still have the defense's case to get through. So from what I've seen today, even with this juror now dismissed, that I have seen them still being attentive, still taking their notes. But I'm kind of wondering too, like how much information does this jury need? But
there's
from the
no way
case,
around
a little bit more
bribery.
finally rest their case.
And look,
there's no way around
to
extortion. He extorted $20K from Cassie's mother. He bribed the guy for the video. He had guns and DRUGS in his house. You have some of the paid
that's kind of a hard
entertainers
really threw me in there, Jesse.
that came on and said that they were paid to have relations with Cassie, and some of them traveled. There's no way around that.
Diverse of a jury that we're really seeing, and this being like one of the first federal trials that I'm covering, I'm not seeing kind of the same like things that maybe Xavier Donaldson is seeing, right? Like he has been. That's kind of a hard question for me to ask. Really threw me in there, Jesse. I understood where he was going with, right? Like I understood the impassion that he has, especially when it comes to race relations and the fact that it really has to do with just this diverse of a jury that we're really seeing. And
I understand.
This being like one of the first federal
well, you hear where we gonna keep it real.
I'm
gonna tell you the truth.
Same, like things that maybe Xavier Donaldson is seeing, right? Like he has been practicing law, and I hate to put it this way since I was like a little kid.
I'm gonna stick with you.
Lots of experience kind of seeing the diversity pool. I got that out there. But so, I don't have kind of that same, I guess, relation that he does as being a lawyer, being a criminal defense attorney. And so I understood where his argument was coming from, right? But I also was kind of also wondering, why were they so keen on having this particular juror when altogether this jury pool is very diverse from what I'm seeing? And I understood his argument, but I also saw kind of both ways when it came to why this particular juror was dismissed. And I think, honestly, the judge made the right decision here.
Let me ask you about Christina Courtroom, because we have a question that came in, and you're an expert in this case since you've been following it. And by the way, today, Christina Courtroom has maybe come up more in these exhibits and this evidence from this summary witness more than throughout this trial. Question from Mikey John. Elizabeth, are you surprised that KK wasn't called to the stand yet?
Yes. Absolutely. Like that, no brainer. I'm truly surprised that she's not being called as a government witness, especially because they have her devices. She could be somebody who could really kind of tie up the loose ends or maybe answer the questions that a lot of us
don't want to further incriminate herself.
And so I'm really surprised that, especially as we're trickling down to the end of the government's case, that the next witness isn't Christina Courtroom. And I'm wondering at this point, is it possible the defense might call her? And if the defense does call her, what that could look like? And so I'm really and truly surprised that they're using her devices. The government is, but they're not calling her as a witness. So yes, definitely surprised there.
And
they want her to. They want to cross-examine her.
Judge Arun Subramanian. What has the judge's body language been like? Do you get any vibes as to which side is favored? Well,
DJH
shouldn't favor any side, but do you get a? I mean, we don't know how he's behaving, what his demeanor's like.
Miss Elizabeth, her spirit is so sweet.
Yeah. So as far as the judge's demeanor, all across the board, from what I've seen so far during this trial, and even during the pre-trial here, is that he's very fair. Like, it's never a situation where you're kind of like, oh, he's a little pro-government here, or he's a little pro-defense here. He really kind of gives both sides their wins when it's applicable, right? And even as in terms of just his body language while listening to the testimony, and if there's an objection from one side, so for example, if the defense has an objection to the prosecution's line of questioning, he kind of gives the prosecution a little bit of leeway to be like, okay, maybe you want to rephrase that question so that way we can get rid of the objection, so that way we can continue.
I'm sorry.
On with the proceedings. And then if there's a point where, you know, there's an objection, there has to be a discussion that's had in the sidebar, he's willing to do a sidebar. And so from the most part, and this should be how every judge kind of operates a courtroom, I think you should always take notes from Judge Arun Subramanian. He is above board, he is fair on both sides, and really it's never a situation where you have to feel like he is, or think that he is biased in any sort of way.
We get another question to you, Elizabeth, before we have to let you go. This is from Lisa 5472. How is Diddy when they finally said the juror was dismissed?
I think he was a little bit disappointed, I'm not going to lie, especially given the long kind of defense letter that was put in over the weekend, given the arguments that were made by his defense attorneys. Outside of just Xavier Donaldson, it was also
learning that he is not the law.
Argument on Friday, but also Mark Agnifilo too. And so I think from what I could tell of just Diddy's body language and demeanor, it seemed like this was something he was kind of a little upset about as far as this particular juror being dismissed. And
let the air out of it.
It's interesting to see kind of how his movements have been so far ever since then, especially because we're seeing so many summary witness charts and all of this stuff, and they're putting all the pieces of the puzzle kind of in a chart format to the jury. But he did seem a little down and disappointed by this juror's dismissal today.
And none of his tactics working.
Before we dismiss you, before you have to head back into the courtroom, aside from just the kind and positive comments you've been receiving from our viewers, and at least one person who's concerned about when you're actually getting lunch and when you have time to eat, I did want to ask you this question from Shai. Please ask Elizabeth Milner, what is used to block the face of pseudonym witnesses?
Oh, they do not block the face of pseudonym witnesses. The witnesses we see inside the courtroom, they're fully present. We can see their faces, we can see their demeanor on the stand. Obviously, as I'm reporting kind of what they had been saying, I have to be extremely careful not to reveal their names. But as far as just any type of shielding that they use to kind of, you know, shield their physical appearance, none of that from what we see. Even in the overflow room, it's not a situation where the people in the overflow room are getting a box or anything like that in terms of covering this particular, or covering the witness's face. And that's why there's been so many kind of issues after these witnesses have testified, even if it's during the
please
break
hit the like button, double tap your screen.
Loose lips, and they'll come out, they'll text their
just
friends,
go
or do it in a live stream and the witnesses
on the face of your phone.
So there's nothing that we see covering their face. We see them all in
or
full
hit the
form.
thumbs up on your
clarifying that, because
laptop or your
up,
computer.
Courtroom sketches and there's a blocked out face, people might believe that there's something that was used to cover their face. That's not the case. You just have to be very careful about not only describing, obviously not their identity, but even
just do it like that.
Characteristics or defining features where people might be able to determine who that person is. Elizabeth Milner, I know you have to jump back in court. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right, so now I want to continue the conversation when we have a few more minutes. Ali, I'll start with you. I get the question all the time. Do you think Sean Combs is going to take the stand? Obviously, it's his decision. But you...
I hope he do. I'm sure he not, but I hope he do.
At this point in the case, what do you think?
His arrogance.
I don't think that Sean Combs should testify. I think that it is not beneficial to him at all.
It's not beneficial, but I hope he do.
Defense counsel tried to put their witnesses together the best they can to try to just help paint the picture of, hey, I was a bad guy, I did bad things, I'm not a criminal. I don't really know how successful they will be, considering that they have a lot of evidence to refute. As you said, it's an uphill battle. But I don't think that there's anything that he can say that he hasn't already said, right? We talked about the video, we talked about, there was been a lot of statements that were made by Sean Combs before he was actually charged with a crime. So I don't think that it's beneficial to him at all to take the stand.
See, Karen,
I'll throw that question to you as well, but we also got this other question.
I hope he do. I'm sure he won't.
Find it.
But you know, he think he's fifth, sixth chair, so he don't listen to nobody.
About whether or not he gets an agreement. Where is it? I'll come back to that question. Stand by. I'll come back to that question for you. Let me see if I can find it. AunTeaFee, let me go to you. This is from Mayo D. Do you think Diddy's aware that Kanye appeared in court last
Oh yeah, he knows.
Of course, he's aware. Diddy is very aware of everything that's happening
He
in
planned it.
social media, in traditional media, as it relates to him. We've seen that he's said things to YouTubers, and he's said things or other things to bloggers in court. He has a publicist, a media person who is on the ground every day. He is 100% aware. He is
Oh,
a
absolutely.
media maven. He's a media
That's
man.
the problem.
Yes,
He really he thought he was God.
How about this one? Let me throw this one to you, William, as I try to find the other one. This is from Sandra Jazz. Hi from Romania. Wow. Hello from Romania. That's amazing. If Diddy gets convicted. If Diddy gets convicted, how much time will he get? By the way, love your show. Thank you so much.
It depends.
William, over to you.
Well, I think it's going to be a substantial sentence. I think the possibility exists that he's going to go to prison for decades. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think it's likely that he will see double digits at a minimum. I think we're probably talking
I give him 40 years.
20, 30 years if he's convicted across the board.
Remember, it's a minimum 15 years in prison on the sex trafficking charge. So it's really, really significant as we talk about it. Let me go to you, AunTeaFee, as we look from that one.
He facing life on another
Let me ask you this. Question from Denise Rose, AunTeaFee. This is about, I guess it's about the other, not the criminal charges.
How many years do y'all give him if he's convicted? I give him 40.
Elizabeth and Jesse, you guys are the best. Thank you so much. Does anyone know what's going on with the other charges that was brought against him from other women? Nothing has been said about them. Again, I think they're referring to the other civil cases. So if I can tweak that question,
yeah, he got more cases coming
from those cases as this criminal prosecution continues.
Well, while this is kind of like a parallel situation, you've got civil and criminal. Usually, all the civil matters are stayed until we resolve the criminal matter, and I expect after the criminal matter is resolved, not even dealing with the appeal, but after this initial matter is resolved, don't know if there will be an appeal or not, if there's a conviction or not guilty or hung jury. After this one is settled, we'll then deal with the civil issues. And I also anticipate a lot more civil matters that are going to be brought up even after this trial. Everything is, I guess, right now just pretty much on hold.
William, now I found that question. Well, actually, my producers found that question, so thank you. This is from Nat Lai. If Sean Combs testifies against KK, meaning Christina Coram, could he get some agreements?
No.
She worked for him.
He's the big fish here. He's the one they're looking for. So I don't really imagine that they would cut him some sort of immunity agreement so that KK ends up being convicted.
Yeah, she worked for him.
Again, it's just not how this would really work.
Got a question for you, Aaliyah. I think there's one of the big interests in this case was not only the evidence, not only the testimony, but celebrities who are going to be mentioned, who's going to be named, which I think is a misconception about the case. This is from Andre Washington. Will the prosecution show the freak-off videos, and will any celebrities be named?
They saw the freak-offs.
So assuming a lot.
That's a different freak-off.
Assuming a lot. I think that, as I understand, some of the freak-off videos have been shown to
these people are not paying attention.
Courtroom.
Yeah,
so
they was
there
shown.
will be a broadcast of media of individual engaging in sexual
But they haven't gotten to the celebrity part.
I think that I don't know how you can. I don't think that will be the case at all. But I do think that from a standpoint of celebrities being named, I think that's kind of just like what we're looking for from a watcher or viewer at home. You just want to see, who else is involved and who else is going on, right? I don't think that they're going to start naming celebrities that were in the specific freak-offs, to the extent that the jurors might have seen celebrities that they are aware of in those actual videos. I don't know whether it'll give any credence to them, but I don't think that we're going to start listing off who was in freak-off video number 1, 2, or 3 as far as celebrities are concerned.
And it seems to me the only people who were in it were the alleged victims and the sex workers, right? I think that there was a misconception that, this case is going to be at every single white party or every single party and who engaged.
So Juanita say he needs to get the life.
Which, let me just throw one more question to you. This is from
He needs to get the Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence.
On trafficking and transportation, can they vote for nullification on Rico? That's not allowed, but explain why jury nullification, what it is, why that's not allowed, and I guess if we tweak that question, could they be hung on Rico?
There's always opportunity for a jury to be hung, right? I think that based off, the juries have to go based off of the evidence that's presented. So from jury
Evidence that's
nullification to say I'm
presented.
not going to decide on these charges based off of the evidence that was presented, you can't do that if there is enough evidence, right? The whole argument is, did the prosecution meet their burden
Provide
of
the
proof
evidence,
in
and they
the
did.
evidence of their case in chief that was proffered? If there was evidence that was proffered to support these charges, no, you can't say, actually, we're just not going to convict on this because we don't want to. That's not the way that this works, right?
Right.
So I think from the standpoint of...
That's
can
what
you
I've been
decide that
trying
we're
to
not
tell
going
the
convict off of
people.
these things?
Hold
No,
on.
right? Or you can decide that we don't agree.
Have I
evidence
not
meets
been
that,
trying
but
to
that,
tell
of course, has to
them?
be
They
all of the
provided the
jurors. And I think that
evidence.
there's
It's
no
there.
juror
There's
with
no
any
way
common
you could
sense
just
that would
say
look at the
no.
evidence and say, oh, there's no Rico here at all.
Let me go to
Yeah, that's
let me go
putting
to
your
2 more
feelings
questions
over
that we got up
facts.
here. We got
That is what I have been trying to explain to the people. You cannot do that. They have presented the evidence. You cannot say, oh, well, nope. We do this all the time. Nope. I can't. The evidence is there. And the law is the law. You cannot bypass the the law to express your feelings. I've been trying to tell them that. I see why a lot of people are locked up. Can you come on, say it for them one more time for the ones in the back? Lord, come on.
celebrities be named that are in the video. So it's assuming a lot. Your thoughts on this?
It is assuming a lot. I think that, as I understand, some of the freak-off videos have been shown to the jurors in the actual courtroom. Do I think that there will be a broadcast of media of individual engaging in sexual charges based off of the evidence that was presented? You can't just want to see, oh, who else is involved and who else is going on, right? I don't think that they're going to start naming celebrities that were in the specific freak-offs, to the extent that the jurors might have seen celebrities that they are aware of in those actual videos. I don't know whether it'll give any credence to, to them, but I don't think that we're going to start listing off who was in freak-off video number 1, 2, or 3 as far as celebrities are concerned.
And it seems to me the only people who were in it were the alleged victims and the sex workers, right? I think that there was a misconception that, oh, this case is going to be at every single white party or every single party and who engaged in what. It's a very specific prosecution, which, let me just throw one more question to you. This is from RSS. If the jury votes to convict on trafficking and transportation, can they vote for nullification on Rico? That's not allowed, but explain why jury nullification, what it is, why that's not allowed, and I guess the question, if we tweak that question, could they be hung on Rico?
There's always an opportunity for a jury to be hung, right? I think that based off, the juries have to go based off of the evidence that's presented. So from jury nullification to say, I'm not going to decide on these charges based off of the evidence that was presented, you can't do that if there is enough evidence, right? The whole argument is, did the prosecution meet their burden of proof in the evidence of their case in chief that was proffered? If there was evidence that was proffered to support these charges, no, you can't say, actually, we're just not going to convict on this because we don't want to. That's not the way that this works, right? So I think from the standpoint of, can we just decide that we're not going to convict off of these things? No, right? Or you can decide that we don't agree that the evidence meets that, but that, of course, has to be all of the jurors. And I think that there's no juror with any common sense that would look at the evidence and say, oh, there's no Rico here at all.
Let me go to 2 more questions that we got up here. We got a super chat question from Alexis Odell. Alexis, thank you so much. William, will they offer other agreements for higher ups?
I think that's already happened. I think that KK's immunity agreement shows that they've already considered who the higher ups are.
So Kiki,
again, the government's case
KK has immunity.
And if they were going to be offering agreements, it would have happened already. So I think that we know that KK got an agreement. We know that, for example, the gentleman who used to work at the hotel as a security guard.
So KK got an agreement,
He
y'all.
got an immunity agreement. So I think the agreements are already there. So I think that's the answer to that question.
Okay, AunTeaFee, this is from Jan.
So KK took an agreement.
Jane's testimony seems not as clear cut.
So she done gave up some of the evidence.
In the prosecution's case, if they've proven much of their case with Cassie's testimony, that's a good question.
No, I think that Jane's testimony for me was a little bit of an issue, but I think that what I said before is that Jane's testimony just really put a light on Cassie's situation. I think Jane's age is an issue. 35 versus Cassie when she got involved in this situation when she was 19. Because I think if there were any questions about the validity of Cassie's testimony and what she went through and the fact that she was coerced, she was abused, she was her parents were extorted. I think if there was any issue before, Jane's testimony supported the fact that Cassie really had no agency. She really had no autonomy. She really was hamstrung by Diddy. So I do think that there was a problem with Jane's testimony with respect to her being a victim, but I think it just really helped the argument for Cassie.
We got the final question I'm going to throw to everybody. I'll start with it. Paul Franti asks, Jesse, how long do you expect the jury to deliberate? If they really look at all of this evidence, days. I don't think that this is going to be an easy deliberation process. Don't they have to spend a significant amount of time weighing the credibility of a Cassie, weighing the credibility of a Jane, weighing the credibility of a Mia, weighing the credibility of a Brianna Bangolan, seeing if they find issues with one, does that talk about the issues with the other, trying to go through all of this evidence of travel records, racketeering, all the underlying crimes. I mean, the jury instructions, just even trying to understand the jury instructions. I don't put money down, but I will tell you, if they get the case on a morning, the likelihood that they're going to come back with a verdict on all of the charges by the end of the day, unless they're really motivated by, I don't know,
they've seen enough that they should be able to.
Unlikely.
I agree. I don't think this is going to be something where, you know, you take all the evidence back and then in an hour we have a guilty or not guilty verdict, especially because we also haven't heard whatever evidence is going to be proffered by the defense in their case in chief. I think that from a human
Joanne, there you go. Guilty of being a real Rico Suave.
We believe someone or
Y'all
not.
please
So
get
I
the
think
likes
from a
up. I'm
credibility
almost
of the
out of
witnesses,
juice.
The jurors have already decided whether or not who they believe more than who they don't. I think they've already made those decisions. It's just a matter of having the conversation with the other jurors. Do we all agree that we believe Cassie Ventura, or do we believe Jane 1 or the other special agents or whoever the witnesses were? Do we all agree that we believe those things?
And they may be persuaded or change their opinion based on having conversations with the other jurors. I mean, we have this poll up, which elements of Rico have the feds proven? All of the above, 45%. Sex trafficking, 31%. Bribery, 17%. Forced labor, 5%. AunTeaFee, go back to you. How long do you think the jurors are going to deliberate?
I think it's going to be 2.5 days.
Okay.
Ah!
Very specific. Any reason why 2.5 days?
Well, I feel like they're going to get it in the afternoon, so that's the half day, and then another 2 days. They're probably going to ask about 2 or 3 questions, and that's it. Anything longer, I think we've got a hung jury issue.
William, you agree?
No, 5 days.
5 days.
5 days. Oh my God.
Because I think that for the first day and a half, they're sorting through the judge's instructions, which are going to be exceptionally long. They're going to be complicated. They're going to have a couple of questions about those instructions themselves before they even dig into everything. Then it's going to take 2 days to go through all the testimony, and then 1 day to convince whoever else is not on the same side, and that gets us to 5 days.
AunTeaFee, I'll give you a quick chance to respond to that, and then I have one more follow-up for William.
I think it's so, I hear you, William, but I think it's just so clear cut. It does, if anything longer than 2.5 days, you've got issues with a hung jury because you're going to have those jurors who have already made up their mind who are not budging. You know, you have to study jury deliberations. Like jurors, they're just, you know, their own creature, and you have to think of the coalitions that have already been built. And just the relationships that are going on, the dynamics, the socioeconomic classes. With all that said, they've made up their minds very early on, I think, and all you need is 2.5 days.
Okay, y'all, I'm gonna have to charge up my phone.
Mind of a holdout after 3 days.
By the way, okay, so I want to throw this final
Come
question
back a little later after.
Cheryl Willis asks, did you just say that
y'all please hit the like button? I'll be back probably around 5 o'clock unless something. Well, yeah, I need to charge the phone all the way up.
Angie, thank you so much.
I'm totally out of
juice.
juice.
Get a deal, but not be called to testify for the prosecution.
Right.
So let's address those backwards. So she could get a deal, and then the government could decide that it isn't worth calling her, or they don't need her, or there's too much exposure there.
They got enough evidence already.
For some reason, I was under the impression she did get a deal. But if she didn't get a deal, then that explains why she isn't testifying, because she's going to plead the fifth across the board.
Yeah, and look, we expected that was what was going to happen. She was going to get some sort of protection, testify, being that connective tissue. At this point, maybe not the case, but I'll tell you what, great questions, great analysis, great panel from AunTeaFee Patterson.
Yeah, I'll be back around 4:30, 5 o'clock, okay?
Really, really appreciate all of you. Thank you, guys.
I gotta.
And now, before we wrap things up, as you know, we're doing these shows every day. But if you wanted a little bit more information about what's been happening in court every day, well, let me tell you what. The second season of Law and Crime's hit pod.
Okay, yeah, I will be back around 4:30, 4:30, 5 o'clock. Yeah, about 4:30. Let me charge my device up. Get geared up for the afternoon commentary. Okay, please come in hitting the like button, like, share, and subscribe. Join the membership so that you will get special ones that I start doing privately. Also, hit the top bell when you subscribe so that you get all notifications. Okay, y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Let me give me some vittles, some lunch. Did anybody support my lunch fund? Ooh, Lord, y'all make it hard on the sister. But I'll be back. Peace out. Thank you for everyone who hit the like button. Thank you, Leo, for modding for me. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for everybody who came through, especially my repeat. Bye, y'all.